basketball. The game will be on 90.7 FM, but the music doesn't stop. You can keep listening to this show online. Just open up the WFUV app or head to WFUV.org.
The Yule log isn't the only thing catching fire this winter. The Fordham Rams are heating up, and just in time. Josh Rivera's clutch 3 over Bryant gave Fordham their 4th straight win. And now with just one non-conference game left on the slate, the Rams can enter A-10 play with a full head of steam and confidence on their side. Today it's Albany making the trip down to the Bronx, giving Fordham one last test before the stakes get raised and the battle for the number 1 seed begins. Christmas is just a few days away, but everything the Rams need is right in front of them. Fordham versus Albany, the 2024-25 non-conference finale, live from the Bronx on WFUV Sports. A snowy Saturday afternoon here in the Bronx, December 21st, 2024. Christmas is right around the corner, and so is the start of A-10 play. It's Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports. Today, the Fordham Rams taking on the Albany Great Danes here at the historic Rose Hill Gym. Orlando and Nick Guzman. Believe it or not, this is the final non-conference game of the 2024-25 season for the Rams. They're riding a season-high 4-game winning streak, looking to make that 5 as they head into A-10 play. And you know going into conference play, they'd love to go in full head of momentum, red hot.
I'd say it's a must-lose for Fordham to win this game against Albany. Fordham, their 5th game this year against an America East opponent. And for the Rams, coming off that win against Bryant at Mohegan Sun, yes, you get the Josh Rivera step back 3 with 6 seconds left to give them the lead. A great, great moment. But for Fordham in that game, they were up 18 towards the end of that first half, eventually letting that lead slip down to 6 at the halftime break. And then Bryant came back and took the lead in the second half before the teams went back and forth the rest of the way. So it wasn't a perfect game for the Rams, but that was a very good Bryant team. And for Fordham against another America East opponent in Albany, a team without a lot of size, for Fordham, a win is a must here as conference play begins on New Year's Eve against St. Louis.
And of course, once conference play starts, the margin for error shrinks. So for Fordham, this is one last, you'd say, low-pressure test here to get everything sorted out, and it's what looks like it's going to be a gauntlet of an A-10. Fordham versus Albany, a 2 p.m. tip-off, and we'll get you all set for it. Before we do, I caught up with Fordham men's basketball head coach Keith Urgo on Friday. Lou Orlando with Fordham men's basketball head coach Keith Urgo. Coach, you've been talking to us about that Bryant game for a little bit as a nice non-conference test. You get the win, it's close, but you hit that big shot at the end. Just thoughts on the overall game?
Yeah, I thought, obviously we came out of the gates and had a tremendous first half. But, from that 3-minute timeout, the under 4-minute timeout in the first half till the end of the game, our defense wasn't as good as we need it to be. So we talk about playing 40 minutes of Fordham basketball. We played about 15, 16 of Fordham of phenomenal basketball in the first half, which is how we got the 18-point lead. And then, we gave up way too many points, way too many offensive rebounds, and we made too many mistakes on the defensive end in the last 23 minutes. So, but very encouraging because Bryant's an extremely talented team, very tough physical team. So for us to be up and lose the lead, at no point at any time did our huddle ever think that we weren't going to pull that game out. And that to me is a mentality that we're starting to create and really important as we head towards Albany tomorrow.
Another big game for Josh at the bench, and obviously he has the game-winning shot. I'm just curious, when you look at last year to this year, are there any differences you see just in his game, overall comfort, anything like that?
Yeah, you know what, just his energy, his effort to become a better human being off the court and better teammate, it's starting to pay off. He's made so many incredible moves and strides to become a better basketball player. His work ethic's tremendous, his talent's off the charts, and now he's just such a tremendous person that's working so hard to be the best version of himself. And honestly, we try to preach that with everybody in our locker room, and he's taken it to a whole nother level, and as a result, you're starting to see some of the fruits of his labor, and just really proud of him, honestly.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Go Rams.
Late December basketball here in the Rose Hill Gym, and you just heard men's basketball head coach Keith Urgo talk a little bit about that 86-84 win over Bryant last Saturday at Mohegan Sun. It's a game-winning three by Josh Rivera with 6 seconds left that gets Fordham their 4th straight win. But it was not a pretty or a full win for the Fordham Rams. The 18-point lead, they completely surrender that. Bryant takes the lead in the second half. Fordham's able to come away with the win, but that has been a theme over this little stretch here, really ever since the Florida trip. Fordham's played better. They haven't played perfect, and a lot of Coach Urgo's issues happen to be on the defensive end.
And it hasn't been perfect. If you want to look at this 4-game stretch, Fordham has scored 80 or more points in each of those games. First time they've done that since 2000-2001. That's a necessity because of what they're leaking on the defensive end, particularly in that Bryant game. And for Fordham on defense, yes, the deficiencies are there. And Coach Urgo was running out some more complicated sets earlier in the season from the defensive side. They've opted to simplify things here as we've moved through the non-conference schedule. But yes, 4 wins in a row, trying to make it 5 this afternoon against Albany, but definitely not perfect for these Rams, particularly on defense. There's still a lot of things that need to be shored up.
And defense has always been a harping point for Coach Urgo, and he went on the Keith Urgo show with Andrew Bogish yesterday and talked about we're a team that's usually top 40, top 50 in defensive efficiency. Now we're starting to see the offense turn up. We need the defense to turn up as well to get the results we saw 2 years ago when we went 25-8.
And a positive about this for Fordham, when you think about blowing that lead to Bryant but still coming back and winning, last year Coach Urgo was talking about how maybe that's a game where maybe the mindset inside the huddle isn't great after that lead is blown. It's maybe like, all right, here we go again. Another game where Fordham blows the lead. But the mindset this year has been, you know what, all right, we take that punch and we're going to come back even stronger on the next sequence. So I think even though it's been leaky on defense and far, far from perfect, I think the fact that Fordham have shown resiliency to not let that lead fully slip away is a really key thing as we move towards conference play.
A little bit earlier, you mentioned the offense. Fordham averaging 85 points per game over the last 4. A lot of that thanks to, in the last game, Jackie Johnson, a season-high 29 points. And here's the starting 5. Jaffe Medor, Jackie Johnson, Jameer Tripp, Ramon Dean, and Abdou Timbila. After that 29-point outburst from Jackie Johnson III, he is once again the leading scorer in the A-10, 39th in D1 basketball with 19 points per game. He has been everything this team could have asked for and then some.
I think when we found out Jackie was coming here, I think everybody knew he was going to be the starting guard. I don't think anybody knew he was going to be averaging 19 points per game on a pretty efficient 46% clip. He is a pure scorer, but that's not the only thing that he brings you. He's been better defensively, been better crashing the boards for rebounds, been better passing the ball, spreading the ball around for his teammates. His game has really become more well-rounded in these last couple of weeks, and it's really been exciting to see for Fordham. Also, who I'm looking at in this starting lineup, Jameer Tripp had his worst game of the season by far against Bryant, went over 8 from the field, didn't score. Josh Rivera stepped up off the bench in his place to kind of hide those deficiencies, so look for a bounce back from Jameer in this one.
On the Albany Great Danes side, the starting point guard, 5'10", Byron Joshua, the 6'4" guard, Amari Marshall, the 6'3" guard, Kenai Briggs, the 6'4" guard, DeMar Langford Jr., and the 6'8" forward, Sully Adewale. And you hear that lineup, 4 of the 5 transfers except for Amari Marshall, and you hear the heights. This is a relatively small Albany team ranked 350 out of 364 in average height, according to KenPom. That is maybe an area that Fordham can exploit.
And because of that, this Albany team fouls a lot, ranked near the bottom of NCAA Division I in terms of personal fouls per game. They're going to be very physical on defense, don't like to switch a lot, but Fordham, with their size advantage, you feel like you can draw a lot of fouls and get to the free throw line. which is going to be key again in this one. Fordham shot the free throw very well against Bryant, something they haven't really done all season long or last season as well. But if Fordham can be clinical from the free throw line, I think they'll be successful this afternoon against Albany.
All set for the tip between Langford Jr. and Tim Bila. No surprise, Tim Bila wins it back to the Rams. The lob from Mador deflected and unable to handle it is Dean. An early turnover for the Rams, and Albany controls. This is Justin Neely up top. Across to Byron Joshua.
Maybe a set lob play right off the jump there for the Rams off the opening tip.
Amari Marshall, third-team All-America East last season, drives, loses the handle, Tripp falls on it, and it's Mador that comes away with the steal. Outlet across to Johnson, into the paint for Tim Bila, right block. Back to the basket, using the pivot foot up with the left hand, it's wide. Ball goes out of bounds, last touch by Justin Neely, staying here for the Rams.
And that shot's going to be there all day for Abdu. He got the positioning, just couldn't hit with the left hand, but he's going to have to keep working down there in the post with that size advantage.
It's Justin Neely in the 6'6" forward, so an even smaller lineup for Albany out to start instead of Adewale. Tambila gets the baseline inbound, hands off Jackie Johnson, top of the key. Nearly loses it as Joshua pressures in close, cuts inside, and an early foul on Byron Joshua, the transfer from Alcorn State.
But you see already the intense defensive pressure from Albany. Jackie was at the O of that script Fordham logo, and Joshua pressing him up high. A lot of hand checking there. Eventually gets called for the personal foul as Jackie made his move towards the basket.
Well, Albany's strength comes in the turnover margin. They don't turn over the ball. They force a lot of turnovers on the other end. Mador off a screen, across to Dean. Deep right wing three, it's good. First points of the game, Fordham ahead 3-0 in the opening minute.
It's a deep three for Dean. Couple steps beyond the arc, a hand in his face, no problem for him.
Here's Neely working quickly. Pumps, shovels down low. Here's Langford Jr. Works on Timbila, kicks out Neely. Off a screen, takes the mid-range. Off left iron, the rebound secured by Albany, but ripped away by Jameer Tripp. A steal for Fordham, working in transition. Mador right wing. Goes left block for Timbila. Up and under and slams it down. From the left block to the right, an early jam for the big man.
There's just not enough size on the floor for the Great Danes to deal with Abdu. That's going to be there all day if they keep playing this small of a lineup.
First basket of the game for Timbila. And Nick, as you said, have to think the Rams are going to target him early. Here's Kenai Briggs. Pull up Jay, no good. And a foul as Langford goes flying to the baseline. He's in some pain. This one going against the Rams.
It's about as good of a start as you could ask for Fordham. They've been engaged defensively, getting to loose balls, forcing some turnovers. Jameer Tripp with that strip on the last possession. And offensively, you got to keep feeding Abdu with that size mismatch down low. I think Albany they're going to have to double, and if that happens, then shooters are going to be open on the perimeter.
Well, this is a real scary sight, Nick. You have DeMar Langford Jr. lying face down, looks like his hand on the lower back really hasn't moved from that position, and this is a major impact player for Albany. A Big 12 transfer from UCF, played major minutes there, past 3 years at BC before that, and he is in some serious pain right now getting checked on by their medical staff.
Yeah, you never like to see this. Langford, so talented, those 3 years at BC. Played 73 games. It's not like he was just there along for the ride. He's a key contributor for Boston College across those 3 years, averaging 8.8 points per game. Not a guy that's going to shoot the ball a lot, going to drive the ball to the hole, but this looks not good as he still lays face down here on the baseline.
Yeah, they're going to call for some extra help. They're going to call for a player off the bench. This is Bautista Hiralt to help Langford Jr. out here as they get some extra staff members here. We'll take a break as they check on DeMar Langford Jr. after a very scary injury. It's Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
I'm Chris Carino, one of your broadcasters for Fordham women's basketball on 90.7 FM. Merry Christmas, everyone. Ring in the holiday season with us as Fordham women's basketball embarks on a cross-country journey that even jolly old St. Nick will be proud of. Fordham visits the Raising the Bar Invitational hosted by Cal Berkeley. The Rams play a pair of games starting with a matchup against the hosting Golden Bears. That one's on 90.7 on December 21st with an 8 p.m. tip-off. Coach Bridgette Mitchell and the Rams are back the following day against Temple or Xavier the 22nd. You can find that one on the WFUV Sports YouTube page. Two of the biggest matchups of the season in the most merry and jolly time of the year. You really can't miss it. WFUV Sports is home of Fordham basketball.
Albany's DeMar Langford Jr. guided to the bench very slowly, and Nick, you have to think that not going to see him for the remainder of this game as Byron Joshua goes to the line.
No, you're just glad to see
free throws.
You're just glad to see Langford up and walking. He was not moving on the ground for a couple minutes there. So good to see him able to walk off, even though he needed some support.
Looks like this is going to be, they called the foul on Ahmad Dean. Looks like it's going to be a technical as Joshua sinks both free throws and no one around him, and it will stay Albany ball. That is a major loss for the Great Danes. Langford started 8 games last year at UCF. That's the Big 12. A lot of people say that's the best basketball conference in the nation.
And before that, to be a major contributor in the ACC, it's a very talented player that Albany are blessed to have. And you hate to see something like that.
Far corner for Joshua. The score 5-2, the Rams ahead. Joshua short on the jumper. Tripp grabs the rebound. Medor. Pressure closely by Joshua. Into the paint. Kicks to the corner. Dean for 3. Wide open. Takes a high bounce and out of bounds.
They're 1 for 2 now from deep for Ahmad Dean. That's a shot that if he's open, he's going to take. He's shown this year a willingness to take that shot, shooting 42% from deep so far. With Dean, there's some games that he's super involved offensively and other games where he just lets his teammates shine. But he's got the ability to be an elite scorer.
Here's Neely. Drives it down to the block. Kicks corner. Kwachek loses the handle out of bounds. And that is a rare turnover for the Albany Great Danes. You don't see too many of those out of this team.
No, but they don't look comfortable on offense thus far. A lot of contested mid-range jumpers, early turnovers as well. Fordham doing a great job with their intensity on the defensive end.
Rams ahead by 3. 17-30 left in the first half. Dribble handoff for Johnson. Left elbow jumper rolls out. Timbila can't grab the board. It's stolen away by Kwachek. Just across to Briggs left wing. Straight on for Neely. Drops it down for Joshua. Drives underneath the basket and steps out of bounds. Back-to-back possessions with turnovers, and you could argue unforced turnovers for Albany.
Definitely. That's 3 turnovers now for them as a team. Not something we're used to seeing. We mentioned how great that turnover ratio is for them before this game started, but Fordham doing a lot of good things on the defensive end to force this disruption.
Just 9.9 turnovers a game, first in the America East, 31st in the nation. Tripp left elbow, gets tied up with Kwachek, throws the shot up, it's no good. Dean offensive board. Timbila right elbow, rips around, righty hook is short, and this time the board pulled down by Kwachek. Briggs across to Marshall, all alone for the layup, puts it in. 5-4, Rams lead. Opening 3.5 minutes here as Albany has the last 4. Medor in transition, blocked at the rim. Marshall raising up and swatting Medor on that drive.
Fordham just 2 for 7 from the field to start in this one. And you talk about the size disadvantage that Albany has, but the intensity that they play with on defense, a lot of hand checking, a lot of contact, not getting foul calls, but Albany's so physical on defense that kind of negates some of the size difference.
Dean Timbila out. Josh Rivera, the hero from last weekend, and he gets the steal right away. Throws it ahead to Johnson in transition. Lefty layup goes. Just avoided the block from Kwachek, and Jackie Johnson's on the board.
What a way to announce yourself in this one for Josh Rivera. Had 17 points and the game winner in the last game. Gets the steal immediately.
Marshall sinks the 3 in the corner. Albany gets it right back. We're tied at 7. 16:05 to play. Outlet to Zona in transition. Puts it in. Transition offense early for the Rams.
The pace picking up. Maybe that's what you have to do if you're struggling in the half court. Getting to the rim before Albany can get set defensively. That time it's Jackie with the full court pass up to Zona, able to lay it up and in.
5 quick points for Amari Marshall, the leading scorer for Albany. And Fordham 9 points, working quickly in transition. It's a 2-point lead for the Rams at the under 16 media timeout. Fordham 9, Albany 7. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Hey, it's Chaz McAdams here calling you to tune in to WFUV Sports One-on-One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show. With hot takes covering all sports from the 5 boroughs and beyond, to interviews with some of the biggest names in sports media. We're live Saturdays on the WFUV Sports YouTube from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then later on 90.7 FM from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Come join us next Saturday for One-on-One.
Lou Orlando, Nick Guzman, Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports. This is the non-conference finale for the Fordham Rams. It's Fordham versus Albany. Right now the Rams a slim 9-7 lead in the first 4 minutes. A very quick pace to this one, Nick. And when we caught up with head coach Dwayne Killings of Albany, we asked him, you going to change anything knowing that Fordham likes to play up-tempo? He said, we're going to match them. We're going to try and play our game. It looks like it's going to be a conflict of two teams that want to play their way. Right now, it seems like the pace is being dictated with one of the faster-paced games we've seen this season.
It's two stubborn coaches who have their philosophies that don't want to change for anyone. For Fordham, they want to play fast. They want to play in transition before Albany can set up on defense. Those last couple of sequences, the Johnson pass to Zona, the Rivera steal up ahead for the fast break layup, those are happening in transition, and that's where Fordham wants to live. But you think about Albany, on the other hand, wanting to get set up more in the half court and dictate the tempo to the style that they want. I think whoever plays the game at the pace that, whichever way the pace goes, that'll say a lot about who's going to win this one. Because Fordham, if they can play fast like they want to and be able to attack before Albany and get set up on defense, I think they'll have a lot of success this afternoon against the Great Danes.
Well, Fordham offensively this season really has opted to play out of the fast break, and they are the 55th team in the nation when it comes to fast break points. They've gotten the majority of their points so far in the fast break and outlet passes, pushing quick. Well, Albany great at forcing turnovers, forcing steals, but not great defensively. Bottom 10 in the nation when it comes to opposing field goal defense, bottom 100 in scoring defense, so they can force turnovers, but they're not the most sound team defensively. There's going to be lanes here for the Rams to push.
And I think that pretty much comes down to their size. That's where the deficiency comes from. You can be as physical, as aggressive as you want on defense. You can be in all the right spots, but if there's a 6'10 Abdou Timbila backing you down to the post, there's not a ton you can do in that situation.
Albany ball out of break. Fordham in their trademark full court press. Neely picks up his dribble across to Joshua. Swings it left for Marshall. Left wing three. It rolls out and trip another board. It's already 3 rebounds in the early going for Jameer Tripp, who was held silent last weekend against Bryant. Scoreless in 23 minutes. Tripp drives. Fade away off 1 foot. Gets the floater to fall. Nice shot by Jameer Tripp.
And that's more like it from Jameer. That's decisive, knowing exactly what he wants to do when he gets the basketball. Looked a little passive in the Bryant game, and that's why he went scoreless.
Joshua's floater is short. Tripp, the lob, the slam by Rivera. He rose above the rim. My goodness, he got up there.
Tripp was at half court when he threw that lob. Josh Rivera, we saw the up and under dunk against Bryant. That was an incredible feat of athleticism. He was so high off the ground there. A freak athlete, Josh Rivera, really coming into his own these last 2 games as an elite offensive option for Fordham.
Nick, I think his head rose above the rim there, and this is, we see a lot of crazy things from Josh Rivera. We've seen a lot of crazy things from Josh Rivera this season. Coach Urgo says he's the best athlete on the team, and he's put it on display time and time again with posterizing dunks and getting up in the air. That was something else, man.
I don't know if you saw, Lou, the Superman trailer dropped the other day for James Gunn's new movie coming out in the summer. I think Josh Rivera might have to star in the sequel.
Fordham 13-7 lead after the loud alley-oop from Tripp to Josh Rivera. And how about Jameer Tripp getting involved early after what looked like not just his worst game of the season, one of the worst games of his Fordham career last weekend against Bryant.
It wasn't just that he wasn't scoring against Bryant. He wasn't really doing anything else well either. He was turning the ball over, looked a little timid on offense. The confidence wasn't quite there. But in a situation like that, Josh Rivera stepped up in that game to kind of hide Tripp's bad game, and Tripp back here against Albany throwing lobs, taking names.
Rams ahead by 6. 15 minutes to go in the first half. Amari Marshall bounces to Neely, free throw line, takes the J, and it rolls in after 5 bounces along the rim.
A lot of shots from the mid-range early from Albany. Fordham have done a good job contesting those so far. The Great Danes just 3 of 9 from the field. I think you're okay with them taking those fadeaways from mid-range.
Tripp gets the screen from Zona. Tripp up top, step back 3. It's good, and draws the foul. Jameer Tripp going to the line after burying the 3. A chance for a 4-point play.
And you love to see it from Jameer Tripp. I mean, he knew exactly when he got that ball at the top of the key, he was going to step back, he was going to take that 3, takes the contact. The shot looks pure, shot looks like what it's looked like all year, just not in that Bryant game. And proving early, Jameer is that Bryant game was just a fluke.
And Jameer Tripp, nothing but net on the free throw, a 4-point play, and Tripp, 6 points, 4 rebounds, a block, and assist in just 5 minutes of play. That's one way to start a basketball game.
Literally all over the place and doing everything for these Rams right now.
Rams ahead 17-9 after that 4-point swing. 14:30 to play in the half. Here's Kwachek, deep 3 off right iron. Rebound went off the fingertips of Jackie Johnson, staying here for the Great Danes.
You nearly got a hand on that first, then off Johnson's hand and behind, so Albany will keep it. We haven't said Jackie Johnson's name a ton so far, but that's because guys like Tripp and Josh Rivera have been so impactful. Depth is a good thing.
Baseline inbound for the Great Danes. This is Neely in the short corner. Takes a bump from Zona, and Zona will be penalized.
To me, yeah, there was a bump there from Zona, but to me it's exacerbated because he's so much bigger. The contact looks like more than it probably was if Zona was going up against someone a little bit bigger.
Even Justin Neely, 6'6", one of the bigger guys in Albany, still 3 inches shorter than the 6'9" Matt Zona. Amir Lindsay, the freshman, checked into this one. Right wing, back out to Marshall, 10 on the shot clock. Marshall hesitates, drives, puts it up, it's good. 17-11, the Fordham lead. Zach Riley checked into the game for the Fordham Rams. Jafanador takes a seat. Rivera left wing off a Zona screen, spins into the paint, fades away, it's short. A wild shot by Josh Rivera. Urgo didn't love it. Lindsay to the corner for Marshall, drives, takes contact, gets the shot to fall, and he's going to the line.
That is so impressive from Amari Marshall. Ramad Dean met him essentially at the rim. Had a great angle on that, went straight up with it. Marshall able to take the contact and finish. I mean, that's a great defender at the rim, and Ramad Dean at 6'7", to be able to take the contact and finish. Very impressive from the junior.
How about a hot start for Amari Marshall? 9 of Albany's 13 points as he goes to the line here with 13:39 left in the first half. Short on the free throw. Riley grabs the rebound. It's into the hands of Jackie Johnson. Lead stays at 4 for the Rams. Deep right wing 3 for Johnson. Rolls out. Urgo didn't like that shot either. Kwachek pushes the pace, loses the handle behind the back, turns it over. Another unforced turnover for the Great Danes, and Fordham ball.
Great defensive pressure to get that turnover, but on offense for Fordham, that's back-to-back possessions, the Rivera wild shot in the lane, and the Johnson 3 from way beyond the arc that you don't feel like you need to take in this game. You can get better looks than that. That's why Keith Urgo was so upset on those back-to-back possessions.
And before the sidelines inbound, Keith Urgo getting right into the face of Jackie Johnson and saying, use your head. Mador throws it down low for Timbila, can't handle the feed, and Fordham turns the ball over right back, and that's one I think Timbila has to come up with.
Maybe Timbila expecting a lob there. The pass was more at his midsection, but I think either way you have to come down with that one, and it'd be an easy dunk for him from point-blank range.
Albany a chance to cut this to a one-score game. Lindsay steps behind the 3 from the corner. It's strong. Rivera the board. 12:55 to play. Mador across to Rivera. Drives, hop step, up with the left hand, it rolls in. Josh Rivera, 4 points in the early going.
It's the same thing he did on that last attempt. He just puts his head down, goes in the lane, and tries to make some space for himself. He's elite at doing so. Sometimes it results in wild shots. Sometimes it results in a great look at the rim.
Here's the handoff for Marshall. Driving in, tries to find Neely on a pick and roll, but it's knocked out of bounds by Zach Riley. Nice job of getting away the passing lane.
A lot of hands in passing lanes for Fordham early. Already 5 turnovers from Albany. defensively, it's been a very, very solid first 7.5 minutes.
Marshall, right wing, off the baseline inbound, spins into the paint, up with the left hand, it rolls in, toilet balled in. And 11 points for Amari Marshall in the opening 8 minutes.
This is a down year for Marshall based on where he was last year, third team All-America East. Scoring down, percentages are down as well. Wouldn't be able to tell based on what he's done so far in this one.
Johnson airballs the three, not even close there, as he took the off-balance one straight on. Lindsay blows by Timbila and plays it in. 19-17, Albany back within 2. Here's Rivera, drives the baseline, tripped up, and they'll call travel. And the under 12 media timeout probably couldn't come in a better time for the Rams. Losing a little bit of their momentum there that last minute.
Probably the worst sequence of the game so far for the Rams. Back-to-back bad offensive possessions. The Jackie Johnson contested three coming around the screen. Just never really had an angle for it. You don't want him to take that shot. The Rivera travel and then Abdu Timbila getting dusted on the perimeter. Fordham need this media timeout. Talk things over here. You're still up by 2.
Rams still ahead by 2 with 11:51 left in the first half. Let's send it back to the Rose Hill studios. It's Grace McCarron with the one-on-one scoreboard update.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Taking you around the A10 this afternoon, the St. Joseph's Hawks head south to visit Virginia Tech. St. Joe's wins that one with a score of 82-62. Niagara visits the Bonnies and trails with a score of 62-42 Bonnies. UC Irvine takes a trip across the country to face the Duquesne Dukes in Pittsburgh. In the late afternoon slate, the Basketball Hall of Fame showdown starts with Arizona State versus UMass at 4 p.m. It's Wildcats versus Wildcats. Bethune-Cookman heads up to North Carolina to face Davidson at 5 o'clock. Tonight, VMI heads to Richmond for a 6 o'clock tip-off. Wrapping up today's A10 action, the second game of the Basketball Hall of Fame Classic is Temple versus Rhode Island at 6:30. We've also got Fordham women's basketball visiting the California Golden Bears at 8 p.m. Turning it over to the gridiron, the Houston Texans head to Arrowhead Stadium to face Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, 14-10 Chiefs at halftime. And closing things out in the NFL for today, an AFC North matchup between the Steelers and Ravens in Baltimore at 4:30. With your scoreboard updates, I'm Grace McCarron.
Thank you, Grace. Back at the Rose Hill Gym, well, the Rams at one point had momentum on their side. You look up quickly, it's a 2-point lead, and you understand Coach Orgo's gripes with his team being unable to play the full 40 minutes. Bad shot selections on the offensive end, poor defense. I know basketball is a game of runs, but it really feels like Fordham is a team of good stretches and bad stretches, and they really have been able to put that together in a meaningful way.
There's a reason why Keith Thurgow has talked so much this year about playing a complete 40 minutes of Fordham basketball. It's because the Rams haven't done it so far this year. There's been stretches in this first half through these opening 9 minutes where they've looked so good on offense and transition, so good on defense, getting in passing lanes, forcing turnovers. And then there's stretches like we just saw before that media timeout. They look lost on both ends. They're taking really bad contested shots that they really have no business taking. And on defense, it looked a little rough too. So it's about, I don't think, not just to complete 40 minutes, but be able to put together more than just a 4 or 5 minute stretch of good basketball.
Albany ball at a break. And here's Briggs driving inside. It's stolen away by Tripp. And Tripp will push the other way. Riley swings right from a door, wide open for 3. It's good. Fordham ahead by 5, 11.5 to play in the half.
When you move the ball up court quickly, Albany not able to get set, and Medor just open on that far wing in transition. He'll knock that shot down every time.
Neely left elbow. Using the pivot foot. Kicks out for Lindsay. Neely gets it right back. Drives underneath the net. Puts it up against Timbila. Gets it to fall.
Keith Urgo telling Abdu Timbila to jump on that play. Had his hands up underneath, but Neely able to finish because Abdu opted not to jump.
3-point lead for the Rams. We've noticed Timbila's rim protection has not looked as sharp as it has in past seasons.
I mean, that's an A10 all-defensive player that doesn't quite look like the same force protecting the rim.
Here's Rivera powering his way in, bakes it in, and draws the foul. Josh Rivera, raw strength inside.
I mean, I'm okay with the offensive strategy of Josh Rivera just putting his head down and driving to the basket. He's shown to be such a good finisher at the rim, and we know Josh at this point, Lou, he's not going to kick that ball out. He's going to try to finish, and a lot of the times, like we saw right there, he's going to get the finish and get the contact.
One of the things I think he's starting to realize is, especially against these non-A10 teams, Josh Rivera is the strongest and the most athletic player on the court at all times, and he's realizing he can use that to his advantage, make these contested shots, because he's just bigger than the defender.
And now it's just about making the free throws at the free throw line, shooting under 40% on the year so far.
And Rivera, nothing but net.
Beautiful stroke.
On the N1, a three-point play for Josh Rivera, 7 points with 10:43 left in the first half. Another strong showing for Rivera off the bench. Joshua pushing quickly, short on the layup. Good shot contest down low by the Rams. Medora in transition, loses the ball in the paint. Looks like staying here with the Rams as Albany slapped it away from Medora.
Yeah, clean strip from Medora. He's another guy who's just going to drive to the lane and try to take that contact, get to the free throw line. Saw that so much against Bryant Jaffe getting to the rim. Hasn't had quite the same success in this game so far.
Rams up by 6 here, 10:31 left in half number one. Decent contingent on the fan side here at Rose Hill. Riley right elbow, spins around the pivot foot. Out to Tripp, drives, left hand, lays it in. Jameer Tripp. An easy 2 points and Fordham up by 8. Amari Marshall for Albany. 11 points, a game high 11 points. Lindsay up top, swings left for Neely. Open in the corner for three, it's short. Rivera with the rebound. Medor across to Riley, open for three, and it goes! The run continues, and Fordham ahead by double digits.
There's bad sequences, then there's good sequences. Fordham knocking down their open shots. Zach Riley there. They've been getting the defensive rebounds on the defensive end, and now we're in a stretch here. Fordham opened up an 11-point lead.
Neely, short corner Jay, and able to answer the run. That ends an 8-0 run for the Rams. And Albany trailing by 9, 9:30 left in half one. Medor hands off for Tripp. Up top, Timbila. Gives it back to Medor. Corner for Rivera. Fakes. Drives inside. Loses it. Puts it back up. This time no good. Neely the rebound. Swings it left for Marshall. Down along the baseline. Back to the basket. Righty floater. Hops out. Riley gets the board and screams in the face of Amari Marshall. Fordham slowing it down the offensive end. Rams ahead by 9. Medor drives. The lob for Timbila goes off the backboard as another misconnection between those two.
It was there. The lob was there. Just Jaffe pass hits off the bottom part of the backboard.
Neely shovels back for Briggs. Briggs drives around Timbila, swatted away by Timbila, and he grabs the board.
That's more like it. The relentless pursuit, getting in a good position to block the shot. We haven't seen enough of that from Abdu this season, but that was vintage Abdu Timbila on the defensive end.
He followed Briggs underneath the basket and knocked the shot down. Rivera up top, takes the contested three, and it's too strong. Marshall the other way. Back to Neely. Into the hands of Amir Lindsay. Loses the ball, able to recover into the hands of Marshall. Marshall drives, stops right elbow extended, kicks out for Lindsay, 10 on the shot clock. There's the feed for Langford Jr. back in the game after the scary injury, fading away and draws the foul. Well, Nick, that is not something we expected to see, but DeMar Langford Jr., after what looked to be a very scary injury underneath the basket, he is in, and that is a massive thing for the Albany Great Danes.
You'd love to see that, not just for Langford's own health, but for Albany as a team. 11 points per game for Langford, a guy who's not going to shoot the ball at all from the perimeter. Only 2 3-point attempts so far this season, but he wants to drive, he wants to attack, and he draws the foul there on Tripp like we saw.
A better showing from the Rams after the under 12 media timeout, and the lead out to 9 points with 7:48 left in half number one. Fordham and Albany, it's Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
I'm Isabella Terracini.
And I'm Barrett Spreitzer. We're two of your hosts for College Gridiron, the exclusive home for all things college football on WFUV Sports.
Join us as we break down the biggest matchups of the week, Heisman hopefuls, and college football playoff previews.
Listen in on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Orlando Nick Guzman. About 8 minutes left to play here in the first half. The Rams leading the Great Danes by 9 points. 30-21 is your score. And the bulk of the scoring on the Fordham end, it's been Jameer Tripp, 8 points, and Josh Rivera, 7 points. How about this little run from Josh Rivera? He was held scoreless against FU, put up 10 points against Maine, and then a Fordham best 17 points last weekend against Bryant, and now 7 points in the early going here for Rivera. This production off the bench for a guy like Josh Rivera, that has massive implications for a team like Fordham, especially as you start to think about A-10 play and needing that offensive contribution.
And he's been Fordham's sixth man this season, coming off the bench in every single game. And we think about a player like Josh Rivera, so aggressive on offense. A lot of the times, yes, he's going to put his head down and drive, maybe not look to kick the teammates. We saw in the last sequence a contested three from straight away. But we saw in the Bryant game, he took a contested three from straight away and knocked it down for the win. He's so aggressive on offense. He's going to take some bad shots here and there, but if he can be anywhere near the level of efficiency that he's been in this game, in the last two games against Bryant, and then in the game before that, it'll mean so much for this Fordham offense, because there's going to be games where, like in the last game, where Jameer Tripp isn't quite there, or in a game like today, maybe Jaffe Medor isn't quite scoring the rock the way we're used to. To have another guy like Josh Rivera be able to come off the bench and put the ball in the basket at the rate that he does, it just adds so much for the depth of this Fordham team in terms of scoring.
And when you talk to Coach Urgo about Josh Rivera, he said, he's been through so much, both physically and mentally, really ever since his senior year of high school, but said that the work he's done lately to make himself a better person, both on the floor and just socially off the floor, he said he's developed a really mature approach to being the best player he can be, and you're starting to see the rewards here the last 4 weeks.
And that FDU game earlier this month, where we played only a handful of minutes, got the flagrant foul, didn't score the basketball, that's the worst possible version of Josh Rivera, where he's aggressive to a fault, where on offense he's taking bad shots. But this version is a guy who just wants to get to the basket and knows that he has the physical tools to be able to do that.
Langford goes 1 for 2 from the line. 30-22, Fordham Rams ahead, as they got some help there on the free throws from some Epiphany fans that will be playing during halftime. Johnson cuts in. Oh, a pretty up and under move, swoops under and lays it in with the left hand. The explosivity from Jackie Johnson.
That's the first time we've seen him be able to get to the basket and finish in this game, and that's maybe more dangerous than his three-point shooting, is his quickness and the ability to get to the basket.
Joshua, high lob for Langford underneath the basket. Short grabs his own rebound, blocked from behind by Zona. Here's the follow-up from Kwachak, and eventually, 3-4 chances at the rim there for Albany. Eventually, they draw the foul, get themselves to the line.
They eventually call the foul on Tripp from behind, but Zona, great job going straight up, getting the block from behind earlier in that sequence, and doing a great job protecting the rim. Something that before that block, Fordham had, for that block from Zona and the block previously from Abdu, Fordham had a little bit of trouble protecting inside.
Here's Kasper Kwachak, averaging 8 points per game, rattles in the first. Fordham, pretty familiar with Kwachak, 3 years in the A-10 with St. Joe's, a season-high 16 points against Fordham last year, so they know a thing or two about how this kid can score the rock.
Kwachak 2 years ago was really, really good. Last year, not a great year for St. Joe's, but the best game of the season was against Fordham, where he put up 16.
He goes 2 for 2 from the line. And you said it right, 20 games started for St. Joe's 2 years ago, found himself out of the starting rotation last season. But it's the guy 6'8" that Albany hoping to give themselves some more size, but also can shoot from beyond the arc, so a dynamic big forward. Ryan Pettis, the freshman, checked into the game. Here's the handoff for Johnson. Deep right wing three. That one no good. Langford the rebound. Long pass ahead to Lindsey, far side. Sends it back for Marshall. Rivera nearly jumped that pass. He knocks it out of bounds, and it stays with the Great Danes.
I think if I'm Keith Thurger, I'm a little frustrated with those deep, deep threes from Jackie Johnson. 0 for 3 from the Yon arc in this one. We know he can shoot the ball from there. 36% from 3 coming into this game. But if you're not feeling it in a game like this, where you've been able to create a lot of good looks getting to the basket, I feel like you want to focus more on that than the deep threes.
Here's Jaden Smith at the top of the key playing defense. The freshman Jaden Smith and Ryan Bettis both on the floor right now. The 3 from Joshua. It goes, nothing but net. 32-27, Albany back within 5.
Both Smith and Zona on the floor. So much size out there for Fordham, but not able to cover there on the perimeter.
Johnson knocked to the ground in the forecourt by Byron Joshua. That'll be Joshua's second foul. That'll be the 4th team foul going against Albany.
Pettis already checking out. Jaffe Medor back in.
Yeah, and Coach Urgo had said that when he went on the Keith Urgo show, while he's not entirely opposed to playing Pettis and Jaden Smith, the 2 freshmen, at the same time, he doesn't love the idea, and he mentioned he does have to simplify the sets when both of them come in to make sure that they can operate successfully. Johnson straight on for Zona. Pumps. Backing his way down to the block. Puts it up with the right hand. The hook falls. Matt Zona on the board. 34-27, Rams ahead.
Doesn't matter how pretty the move looks. The ball went in the basket.
Well, Matt Zona really starting to heat up and come into form here this last stretch of games. Left wing 3 for Amari Marshall. Short on the rebound by Jackie Johnson. 5:50 to play in half number 1. Zona hands off for Rivera. Rivera drives, has it knocked away. And that turnover, only thing preventing Rivera from a dunk. Damon Stroud has it knocked away by Matt Zona. But looked like Zona maybe too much contact as he stepped forward there. That's the 6th team foul going against the Rams. Albany 1 away from getting to the line.
I want to touch a little bit on Zona because before the calendar hit December, when they played that invitational down in Florida against 2 really good teams in Penn State and San Francisco, and even the game before that in Drexel, Matt Zona looked really, really bad. The month of December, he's looked much better on defense, much more efficient on offense, better with the 3-point shooting, a lot more like the player that was advertised coming here from Notre Dame.
Nick, in that Drexel game in early November, he was borderline unplayable. Langford Jr. back to the basket, righty hook rolls in. It's a 5-point lead for the Rams once again, but when you look at the way he played against Bryant, 5 points, and I think more importantly when I looked at was 23 minutes played, and that's his most since November 12th against Binghamton.
He's not necessarily lighting up the stat sheet, but he's much more efficient and understands better what he's supposed to be doing on defense.
Medor open for 3, it rolls out. Langford the rebound. Marshall pushes. Here's Strand in transition. Gets it to fall, the righty floater. As it just evaded the attempted block from Timbila. Just like that, a 3-point game with less than 5 to go. 34-31, the Rams ahead.
And Albany in the zone defense here.
Jaden Smith, short right elbow 2, no good. Timbila rips away the rebound. And now hold on, Albany gets a hand on it. This is going to be jump ball possession, Albany. For a second there, looked like Timbila had the offensive board, but Albany quick to get to it.
It still hasn't looked great for Abdu on either side of the floor. On defense, Albany still are attacking the rim against him in the last 2 possessions, able to finish over him. And there on offense, gets tied up for the jump ball. Thought for a second to be able to rip it away, but it's going to be Albany basketball.
4:37 left in the half, and Albany trailing by just 3. Lindsay over on the left wing. Gets the screen from Kwachek. Now dishes to Kwachek. Here's the handoff to Marshall. Marshall drives. Fadeaway 2, righty floater goes. Soft touch from Amari Marshall, 13 points, and the Danes cut the lead to 1.
I mean, Smith is in a decent spot there to contest. He just didn't get his hands up in time. Marshall's so fast and so good finishing at the rim.
6-0 run for the Great Danes. Fordham scoreless the last 2 minutes of gameplay. Johnson has the ball knocked away from it on the far side. It stays here with the Rams. That takes us to the media timeout. And Nick, this is another media timeout we enter, and the Rams don't look too hot.
And you never want to single out a freshman, but it hasn't quite looked right on offense since Jaden Smith has entered the game. They've tried to play with the 2 bigs. It was Smith and Zona before, now Smith and Abdu. Just Fordham seems like they don't quite know what to do when both those guys are on the court at the same time.
Well, Albany's cut the lead to 1 with 3:55 left in the first half. And once again, we'll send it back to Grace McCarron, the one-on-one scoreboard update.
A one-on-one scoreboard.
Moving on to top 25 action, the Florida Gators rout the North Florida Ospreys 99-45. The Yukon Huskies face the Butler Bulldogs in Indianapolis, with Yukon taking that one 78-74. At the world's most famous arena, New York's very own Madison Square Garden, UCLA takes on UNC at 3 o'clock, and the Ohio State Buckeyes play the number 4 Kentucky Wildcats at 5:30. In the late slate, we've got the Stanford Cardinal hosting the Oregon Ducks at 8 p.m. Eastern. Bucknell visits Washington State to play Gonzaga at 9 p.m. Your last game of the night will be all California. Cal visits San Diego State at 10:30. On the ice tonight, you've got the New Jersey Devils hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins at 7 p.m. and the New York Islanders head north to play the Toronto Maple Leafs at 7:30 p.m. And some sad news out of the baseball world. Hall of Famer and all-time soul and base leader Rickey Henderson has passed away at the age of 65. With your updates, I'm Grace McCarron.
This is awful news to hear about Rickey Henderson. No one quite did it like Rickey, so thoughts and prayers to the family of Rickey Henderson, one of the great baseball greats of all time. Here at the Rose Hill Gym, Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports. The Rams just a 1-point lead here after a 6-0 run, and really, if you zoom out, an 11-2 run from Albany, and a lot of these issues coming with the freshman Jaden Smith on the floor. Coach Urgo has talked about it's been a little bit of a struggle for him to get some of the more complex schemes for him on the defensive end.
They've talked about having to simplify things for Jaden on defense. He's going to be really good. Okay, 4-star recruit, his scout grade of 81, the highest for a Fordham freshman since 2009. So much talent, but just hasn't quite grasped the concepts on defense yet that Fordham need. And because of that, even on offense, having Jaden and Abdu out there, Jaden and Zona, just hasn't quite meshed right, and that's a big reason for that 11-2 run.
And to some extent, it's a team-wide thing. Coach Urgo said he had to simplify the offense and the defense for everyone earlier in the season. Now, with more practice time, they're starting to gradually work things back, but it's going to be a slow, gradual process. The shot clock expires on the Rams, and Keith Urgo throws his water bottle to the ground. There's water everywhere along the far sideline. He is irate right now.
Just terrible awareness for Fordham coming out of that timeout. Just no one seemed to know how much time was on the shot clock, and it's a turnover.
Turnover, Albany ball, and a chance for Albany to take their first lead of the game here, and that is a tough look for the Rams. Out of break, you have all break to draw something up and just not aware about where the shot clock is. That's a really tough mental error.
In this game so far, it's been 3 minutes of good Fordham basketball, followed by 3 minutes of almost unwatchable Fordham basketball, and then rinse and repeat. And that's why we are where we are.
Langford Jr., his pass intercepted by Medor. Medor running the length of the court. Drives inside, swatted down by Langford. Well, he turned the ball over, got back on defense, and made the block down low.
Just not quick enough there in transition. Medor thought he had a step there on the Albany defense, but 3 Great Danes defenders converge on him and are able to block that one away. Nothing easy so far for Fordham in this one.
Baseline inbound for the Rams. Here's Rivera driving inside, muscles his way in. It's too strong in the layup. The scoreless drought for the Rams continues over 3 minutes. The pass from Marshall, wild and intercepted by Rivera. He'll slam it down. 2 hands in transition, and the Rams back up by 3.
2 steals now for Josh Rivera, extremely active on the defensive end, able to slam it down on the fast break. I don't know about you, Lou. I love watching Josh Rivera dunk the basketball.
I'm right with you there, Nick, and that's now a team-high 9 points for the junior. Langford loses the ball, able to recover and kick out. Lindsay drives, floater, blocked by Timbila. And it's going to be Rams basketball. Last touched by Langford Jr. down low. Well, how about Abdu Timbila? That was a high floater. He got up and got his hand on it on the way up.
That's what Abdu can do at his best. The only way he blocks that shot is if he times his leap to perfection. That's exactly what he did. A very high floater on that one, but Abdu using all of his 6'9" frame to block that one away.
2:35 left to play In half number one, the Rams ahead by 3. Jackie Johnson, left wing 3, it goes! First 3 of the day for Jackie Johnson, and the Rams up by 6.
He's such a pure scorer with Jackie. It's always just a matter of time before that first 3 goes in.
Now a foul on Albany, an illegal screen. Set by number 6, Kasper Kowalczyk. Talking about this game really has been a game of runs. It feels like one team heats up and the other team goes cold, and then just like that, the pendulum swings.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. How about that sequence for Jackie? You knock down the 3, you draw the offensive foul on the other end. It's been an uneven game for him so far with kind of Josh Rivera and Jameer Tripp being the stars, but in an instant, Jackie could be this team's leading scorer.
I mean, we were a couple minutes away from talking about, one game after Jackie Johnson puts up 20 in the first half, he's got 4 through one half. He hits the 3, he's got 7. You feel a little bit better about 7.
Still 2 minutes left, too.
There's Medor up top, and a bump from Albany up top, and I think that's going to go against number 4, Amir Lindsay. That's the 6th-team foul against Albany, so both sides just 1 foul away from being in the bonus.
Albany really so aggressive on the perimeter with their hand checking, trying to disrupt the Fordham guards. Here you see again Lindsay pressed up tight on Johnson.
Johnson drives, can't lay it in with the left hand, but draws the foul on the way there, and that is a quick first step of Jackie Johnson, allowing him to get that leverage inside.
When you do press up tight like that, a guy like Jackie Johnson, who's so fast, able to get that first step and explode towards the rim. Now a chance for him at the free throw line.
You see the fouls here by Albany as Fordham now in the bonus, so that this one would have been a shooting foul either way. Albany fouls a lot, 20 personal fouls a game. That is bottom 20 in the nation. You wonder if that has something to do with them overcompensating for their lack of size across the floor.
They're an aggressive team. It's probably due to the aggression, but also a big part of it is the size and just being undersized in almost every position. Those fouls are going to stack up when you play the aggressive defense that they do.
Perfect 2 of 2 trip from Jackie Johnson. Just like that, tied for the team lead in points. That's how quickly it can happen. A minute 54 left to go in half number 1. The Rams up 41-33. Neely at the left elbow. Back out to Damon Strand. Medor knocks it away into the backcourt. Strand recovers with 15 on the shot clock. Crosses half court. Into the hands of Langford Jr. Drives on Riley. Spins around. A little shimmy shake, no good. Rebound by Riley. Great defense against the board. Medor to the corner for Rivera. Minute 22 to play. As Marshall knocks the ball away from Rivera, staying here, 23 on the shot clock.
I mean, that last defensive sequence for Fordham, that's attitude. That's Keith Thurgood's attitude system. Jaffe Midori hitting the floor on the perimeter, trying to get the steal, disrupting it twice, and then Zach Riley staying with it down low, getting the good shot contest, and Fordham get a stop on defense.
Riley bounces left wing for Johnson. Post feed for Rivera. Back to the basket. Righty hook, nothing but net. A smooth turnaround from Josh Rivera. Double digits right now. Marshall working quickly the other way. In transition, blocked off the backboard by Timbila. Johnson in transition, coast to coast. Can't get it to fall. Now Joshua pushes the other way. Corner, Marshall. Down the middle for Langford Jr. No good. Stifled underneath the net by Timbila.
What a job by Jaffe Medor down low, being the last guy back. The smallest guy really on the floor for these Fordham Rams besides Jackie Johnson at just 6 feet tall, able to get the contest and force the wild shot.
That's a wild sequence, and let's unpack it with 46.7 seconds left. First, you have the bucket from Josh Rivera, now a team-high 11 points, and then a crazy defensive sequence. Timbila blocks it off the backboard, and a great defensive play there by Medor when it looks like Albany had easy transition offense.
And then the other end, Jackie Johnson on the fast break wanted the foul call. He was arguing with the official. Got it bumped a little bit on that layup attempt. Shot wouldn't go, and then back the other way. Jaffe Medor holding his own underneath the basket.
And it had maybe slowed down a little bit after the opening 4 minutes where we saw a lot of transition offense. The pace has gotten back up to where it was in that opening 4 minutes where both teams look and run back and forth and just get quick, easy offense.
This is the pace that Fordham wants to play at. They're getting guys open and getting their best looks when they're playing fast. How does that happen? You force turnovers on defense, you force bad shots, you hold them to one and done, and you get the ball up the court quickly. When the pace of the game is slowed down, Fordham have been forced to play more in the half court. That's when things have gotten a little bit ugly offensively.
Fordham ball, a far sideline inbound with 46 seconds left. This game has been a game of runs, and this recent one, a 9-0 run for the Rams. 15 on the shot clock. Riley in the corner, drives in, hangs, can't get the shot to fall, gets the offensive rebound, puts it back up, gets the shot in, and draws the foul as well. And then one for Zach Riley as he lays it in.
Zach Riley is not the flashiest player in the world. He came in to this game averaging under 3 points per game, but you can't question the heart. I mean, on defense, the intensity has been there to contest shots and to force bad shots. There, takes the contact, missed the first layup, got bumped on that one too. Gets his own rebound and able to put it back up and in. 6 points now for Riley, a spark plug off the bench.
He completes the three-point play, and Fordham a perfect 5 of 5 from the line right now. Shot clock is on here. It's 22 seconds and rolling, but it will really take us down to the end of game. Albany can hold for the final possession here at the end of half. This is Joshua up top. 10 to go. Neely, right elbow, takes the 2. It's good, nothing but net. 5 seconds left to go. Clock is running. Riley weaving through the middle. Heaves from half court, nowhere close. But all things considered, Rams go into halftime, a 46-35 lead. Not sure when you look at the way they played basketball for large stretches there in the first half. Not sure you expected them to have a double-digit lead, Nick.
No, but that last Neely mid-range jumper snapped a 12-0 run for the Rams. You talk about how poorly they finished the first half against Bryant, really let them back into the game. Well, they were poor for large stretches of this first half, but that big run in those last couple of minutes, 12-0, able to separate Fordham here from Albany. It's about this last couple minute stretch is what Fordham can be at their peak. You're forcing turnovers, you're forcing contests on defense, you're playing fast in transition, you're getting open looks at the rim. What the worst version of this is what we've also seen in this game, where Fordham look a little lackadaisical on defense, and they're just putting their heads down on offense and taking bad contested shots. We've seen all of it in this first half, but I think considering the good we've seen, the bad we've seen, and how much we've seen of both, I think you'd be happy to have an 11-point lead if you're Keith Ergo.
Josh Rivera leads all Rams with 11 points and 5 of 9 shooting. Jackie Johnson right behind him with 9. On the Albany side, Amari Marshall leads all scorers with 13 points. He's been excellent, just hasn't had enough help around him. And what it all culminates in is an 11-point lead for the Fordham Rams going into halftime. And with that, we will send it back to the Rose Hill Studios. It's the one-on-one halftime report with Kurt Sipple and Grace McCarron.
The one-on-one halftime report.
Hello and welcome to the one-on-one halftime report. I am Kurt Sipple, joined alongside Grace McCarron. We have just watched the Fordham Rams' first half of basketball against the Albany Great Danes. Fordham now leading 46-35. Grace, we watched this game, and you're surprised, like Lou and Nick said, that they have a lead right now.
Yeah, they've definitely been getting lucky a little bit in this first half, but I do like that the Fordham is spreading out their scoring a little bit. Josh Rivera with 11 points, Jackie Johnson 9, Jameer Tripp with 8. They're not relying heavily on one player right now, and I think that's important as we go into A10 play in a couple of weeks. That'll be good for them to do, but I do look for them to take, they are winning 46-35 right now, but I do look for them to take a little bit more of a dominant lead in the next half.
It's all about playing hard for a Keith Ergo-led basketball team.
Yes.
And these Fordham Rams, the last 5 games, so this is a 4-game win streak, all capped off a game-winning shot against Bryant in Mohegan Sun last week. Mm-hmm. And, the Fordham Rams have continued to have trouble when playing in these games. They went up against Bryant, and they had a double-digit lead going into the halftime in that first half. And then they went in, and then they let the lead up. But in a game like that, you had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in double figures of that game. And now for this game, you might have a good chunk of your team spreading out the scoring. You don't have to rely on Jackie Johnson to score 30 so you can win a game. You know what I mean? So for Keith Ergo, he has to be so excited about that. And another person that I want to highlight just a little bit. So we saw a little bit of his playing time today. He had a short amount of time, which is 3 minutes of Jaden Smith playing.
Yep.
But I always advocate to wanting to see more Jaden Smith just because of the amount of size that he offers these Fordham Rams. And I think for Keith Ergo, it just can help even more right now because you've been more dominant on the glass. But Jaden Smith just offers you a alternative from a big man that you already have been playing the entire game.
Yeah, you definitely need more of that, and that I think will help them with like the dominance factor. We were saying like they have these chances. They've been getting a little bit lucky. They are still up 10 points with the first half being over, but they need a little more dominance. I think relying on the big guys could help that a little bit, like scare Albany just a little bit, but definitely look for more. Overall, just generally look for a little more in the next half.
You can't keep letting Albany into this game.
Yes.
The issue is Albany keeps coming back into this game. You go up, so we were on a 12-0 run to end this. The Fordham Rams were on a 12-0 run to end this half, excuse me. So you want to continue that momentum. Basketball is a game of runs. We heard Nick and Lou say that. It's just a thing that you always hear. Basketball being a game of runs, but you can't go on large runs and then stop this and then try to stop the bleeding after Albany punches back because you go lackadaisical. We saw Keith Ergo throw his water bottle down. Listen, he's not the most cool-headed guy on the court. We know that. He like you'll hear him screaming. We almost heard it from Rose Hill after that turnover that happened. But it doesn't matter. And that point is if you're going to play muddy and you're going to make that your whole identity, you got to do it for 50. You got to do it for the 60 minutes, the full 48.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how can you keep letting up a lead against, one, a Albany team that's very good? You're letting their top scorer just keep dominating against you as well. In Amari Marshall has 13 points right now. He's having a crazy game for the Albany Great Danes right now. And just overall, you have to figure out a way to stop him.
Yeah.
Because in their win that they had last week, 16 points against Sacred Heart, Marshall had. So that's 16 points. He's at 13 right now. So what is the Fordham Rams going to do to try to stop the bleeding right now?
I would say just don't give them chances. Like you've seen them do that. I think you were kind of alluding to that, but they're very evenly matched. If you look at these stats, like they're very evenly matched. They've looked evenly matched this game, and I don't think that you can keep letting Albany come back when they've been down. They haven't had a lead yet. So
if you let the dog back into the fight, it doesn't matter. You
exactly.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for Fordham as well, like you haven't let Albany get the lead, but you have let them get ties.
Yes.
You don't want that. You lead them in steals with 5 points. Right now, you've seen good play by some other Fordham Rams that aren't named Jackie Johnson. I mean, right now you have Abdu Sambila having a pretty good game. To talk really frank about this, Jameer Tripp, we're seeing show up today.
Yep.
8 points, spreading out with 4 rebounds. I mean, you need to see that to start. We start conference play on New Year's Eve. This is a new start for the Fordham Rams. You can look at it as the blank slate because the new year at 12 o'clock, it rings.
Yeah.
So you want to see these guys like Tripp getting bigger minutes, getting bigger amounts of points. Josh Rivera leading all scorers right now with 11 points. That's big for the Fordham Rams because you want a bench.
Yeah.
A bench is one of the most important things in basketball, and we can see it. You guys are both Knick fans. You and Lydia Perner and Grace McCarron are both Knick fans, and you know what happens when you don't have a bench playing basketball.
It's not good.
Things don't work out well for you.
It's not good. Yeah, you absolutely do. You can't rely on the one guy. You can't just be relying on Jackie Johnson. And that's what, I like that they have a bunch of people scoring today, but they do need a little bit more of a threat against Albany. They need a little bit more of a push, I think.
Definitely. And one thing, I mean, they've been shooting their threes pretty well, 5 of 11 today, 18 from 35 from the field. I mean, you're not really out shooting Albany today. You're not out rebounding Albany. So at the end of the day right now, all you can do is attempt to outwork them.
Yeah.
And a team like Albany, who's right now 7-6, you're 7-5. you're not gonna you guys are pretty equal in the standings in the conferences that you're in right now.
Mhm.
Young, scrappy, hungry teams led by some pretty good veterans. Marshall was a redshirt last year on New Albany.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's just about who's going to outwork the other one first,
Yeah.
and who's going to play better basketball.
Yeah.
And the Fordham Rams, again, like we were talking about in the back, you can have great defense and then have some bad scoring because the defense saves you. You can have great scoring and then have the defense and then be a little more lackluster on defense. You can't have both.
Right.
So right now we'll see what the Fordham Rams do back when we get back to the game. But to wrap the one-on-one halftime report, I am Kurt Sipple, joined alongside Grace McCarron. We'll see you in the post-game show. But back to Lou and Nick at the Rose Hill Gymnasium to end off conference play.
Back at the historic Rose Hill Gym, Lou Orlando, Nick Guzman. Well, it's December 21st, so we're 4 days away from Christmas. Coming down here, the holiday stretch. Finals are over. Thank the Lord.
Thank God.
Oh, man. We finally just get to lock in on some Fordham men's basketball, and it is right now an 11-point lead for the Rams. And, Nick, you got to help me make sense of this team because I think the highs are so enticing, and you see the runs, 11-0 runs, 11-2 runs, 9-0 runs from this team where they play great defense, they're dominant on the offensive end, and then seemingly just at the snap of a finger, it feels like they lose focus, they have lapses defensively, they take poor shots offensively, and you see them play for 2, 3, 4 minutes where they look like the worst team in the A-10, but then when they turn it on, they look like a team that maybe 2 years ago could compete, and it's so tough for me to try and figure out where it's all trying to lie and where it's all going to fall. I think Coach Ergo probably in a similar spot right now when he talks to us about this battle for a complete 40 minutes.
Well, Lou, how many times when we've talked to Coach Ergo has he mentioned a complete 40 minutes of Fordham basketball? I'd say at least 4 or 5. And there's a big reason for that. It's because I think Coach Ergo recognizes the potential of this team when they're clicking on all cylinders. When Josh Rivera is being aggressive on offense and getting to the rim and finishing well. When Jackie Johnson isn't necessarily, hucking up really deep threes, but he's getting to his spots, taking open shots and knocking them down. When they're engaged defensively, getting in the passing lanes, forcing turnovers, and moving quickly in transition. That's that stretch that we saw the last 2 minutes of this first half, the 12-0 run, that put some space in between Fordham and Albany here where we are at halftime. There's also the stretches earlier in this half where it looked lost on defense and in the half court on offense. And there were stretches like that against Bryant as well. And you worry once you start Atlanta 10 play against St. Louis on New Year's Eve, after that against St. Bonaventure, starting off against 2 really good teams here at the Rose Hill Gym. You worry that maybe some of those stretches that you had in this game against Albany that were really poor, that maybe Albany didn't fully take advantage of, a better team like St. Louis or St. Bonaventure will take advantage of that. And no matter how good you play for that other portion of the game, that the bad stuff is going to be enough to put some losses up on the board in conference play. But it's not all negative. When you think about how well this team is scoring the basketball, how well they can score the basketball, there's flashes and there's extended flashes of brilliance from this group. It's just a matter of can they put together longer stretches and try to eliminate some of those stretches where it really looks like no one knows what's going on.
On the offensive end, 46 points, so they're on pace for their 5th straight game of 80-plus points, and it's an offense that has really come into form, obviously led by the A-10's leading scorer in Jackie Johnson, but today it feels like the standouts. Number one, Josh Rivera, another really strong performance off the bench, and he's really done a nice job as the 6th man coming off, providing an offensive boost, using his strength, using his athleticism. If Josh Rivera looks like this in A-10 play, that's a major asset for the Rams this year.
And Josh is a scorer. The problem sometimes has been the other parts of his game, but on defense, in this game, 2 steals and a block already for him. He's been so active defensively. When you factor that in with what he's doing on offense, where a lot of times he'll fake the 3, he'll drive, doesn't matter how many people are in the lane, he's going to try to take the contact, absorb it. And he can do that at 215 pounds, at 6'6". He can take those hits in the lane, and those contested shots that you might call them a bad shot from the outside, Josh Rivera has a lot of confidence that he can knock those down, taking the hits and still being able to rise above and finish at the rim.
The other highlight I want to make, we mentioned his name, Jameer Tripp. 8 points, 4 rebounds in 10 minutes of play. Jameer Tripp had the worst game of his season last week against Bryant, and one of the worst games of his Fordham career. No points, 0 for 8 from the field in 23 minutes played. He's looked a lot sharper and got off to that really quick start, really hot start. It's nice to see Jameer Tripp settle back into form, and it's nice to see a couple of the members of this team, Josh Rivera after a scoreless game, Jameer Tripp after a scoreless game, be able to bounce back and not let that affect them long term.
And let's not sugarcoat it. That was the worst game of Jameer Tripp's collegiate career against Bryant. I mean, as someone who was there and was watching it, 0 for 8 from the field, 2 turnovers, looked slow and sloppy on offense, looked disengaged on defense. I mean, down the stretch, he didn't play. He was on the bench in crunch time there for Keith Ergo. But I think to be able to come out in this game against Albany and immediately dispel all that bad taste that you had in your mouth from Jameer's performance last time out against Bryant, and to have 8 points already on an efficient 3 of 4 shooting, 4 rebounds, an assist, a steal, a block, filling up the stat sheet like we know he can. He's such a key part of this offense. He's such a well-rounded player that I think it was clear to most people that that game against Bryant was a fluke, but it's just been good to see that it was a one-game fluke. And even in that game, someone like Josh Rivera was able to step up and score 17 and score the game winner, even when Tripp wasn't playing well. So I think the fact that there's some depth on this Fordham team that, you know, Jameer can go scoreless, Josh can go scoreless, maybe Abdu has a bad game, that there's pieces on the bench that can come in and fill in, you know, more than admirably, that can fill in and really make an impact and contribute to a Fordham win.
On the Albany end, no surprise that Amari Marshall, 13 points in the first half. That leads all scorers on either side, but uncharacteristically for Albany, 9 turnovers in the first half alone. They had 8 the entirety of the game against Sacred Heart on the 18th, and they're only averaging 9.9 turnovers a game this season. They're one of the best teams in the nation when it comes to holding on to the ball. Fordham, in this fast-paced environment, that high-pressure defense really made them uncomfortable.
It says a ton about Fordham's defense and what they've been able to do on that end of the floor, first forcing those 9 Albany turnovers. I was watching some of that game against Sacred Heart. Really, Sacred Heart not nearly as aggressive as Fordham have been on defense in terms of getting into passing lanes and getting deflections, getting their hands on basketballs. I think Fordham's style of defense, the way they play, really has made it difficult for Albany on offense to find any consistency. Yes, they've had a couple of stretches in that first half where they looked better, but overall, I think Fordham can be happy with that defensive effort in terms of the turnovers. I think a couple times Albany have been able to get to the rim and finish where you think maybe they shouldn't be able to, whether it's Abdu down there or Zona down there. Albany have still been able to get those finishes, but I think overall it's been a better effort defensively for the Rams in this one.
The Rams start second half with the ball and quickly finding Johnson. The floater in transition, no good. Timbila offensive rebound. Puts it back up, can't get it to fall. Rebound by Joshua, pushes in transition. Drives inside, hangs, no good. And the rebound by Johnson. Johnson will move quickly once more. Left wing. Lobs it up for Timbila, knocked away and stolen by Amari Marshall.
He's so much bigger down there, it's frustrating to watch back-to-back possessions. Abdu not able to do anything down low in the post.
Kicks to the corner for Joshua, pumps. Back out to Marshall, straight on. Post feed for Neely. Sweeps through on Timbila. Fading away, and gets it to fall, nothing but net. On the fadeaway 2 from Justin Neely.
You just got to respect that from Neely. 3 inches shorter than Timbila, not nearly the same size either. To be able to get in the post and hit that fadeaway, that's a tough shot over a good defender.
Fordham lead back down within single digits, 46-37. Medora off the handoff from Timbila. Straight on for Johnson. Off a screen, left elbow 2, rolls out. Coach Ergo talked about Fordham has struggled time and time again to get out to strong starts in the second half. The 3 from Briggs, no good. Tripp the rebound. So they've tried a couple different halftime routines to get the most out of this team. Timbila underneath the basket. And the post lefty layup goes.
That's there every time against Neely. Neely's done very admirably defending that shot against Timbila, but if he can get on the inside, there's nothing Albany can do about it.
Marshall down to the block and draws the foul on Timbila. So Omari Marshall, 13 points in the first half, going to the line here with 18:20 left in the second half.
Yeah, not the best start for Fordham offensively. They've gotten some good looks. That Jackie Johnson shot from the mid-range, that's a shot you want him to take. Just not hitting early on in this second half, rather.
Marshall to the line for two. And Albany's really leaned on him, not just in this game, but on this season. A lot of new faces for this Albany team. They lost 7 of their top 9 scorers last year. He was a third-team All-America selection last year. Really one of the only holdovers from a disappointing season last year, but a talented scorer, 16 points per game. As he goes 2 for 2 from the line. It's been an issue here, or a struggle in the first half of the season for Albany to get that connectivity that we hear Coach Ergo talk about with all the new faces in the room. Tripp pulls up from free throw range and buries.
He could knock that shot down. It's going to be really, really tough to defend because of how good Tripp is when he puts the ball on the floor as well.
Double digits for Jameer Tripp. Neely in the short corner. Steps up, pulls up for 2, no good. Dean the rebound. One-hand pass from Johnson ahead to Timbila. Got tied up with Neely, and they say last touch by Timbila, a turnover. And I'll tell you what, Timbila's had a lot of issues here with some of these passes in transition.
And they're trying to hit him in transition to get that size advantage, a one-on-one chance there against Neely. But Timbila just looks awkward a little bit when he gets that ball in those positions.
Neely fakes the handoff to Joshua, takes the deep 2 all alone and hits. Another nice shot by Justin Neely, starting to warm up here in the second half.
Well, Neely's a guy who was America East Rookie of the Year in 2021, then injury-riddled the last 2 seasons. Finally this year seems to be taking that next step that everyone thought he would take 3 years ago.
Tripp thinks about the 3, steps inside, lays it in with the left hand through contact. That's 4 straight points from Jameer Tripp, up to 12 on the day. This is Neely again, far side, short corner. Leaves it for Marshall. Contested 2, buries it. Omari Marshall with a hand in his face, and both sides trading blows.
Albany are making these contested 2s in this recent stretch, but I think if you're Fordham, you're still doing a good job contesting that shot. It's a low percentage shot in general. I think you just got to keep doing what you're doing, getting hands up on those shots.
Timbila can't handle the post feed from Jameer Tripp. Once again, felt like he got lost there on a spin move. 52-43, the Rams ahead, 16:37 to play as Timbila will check out. Matt Zona will come in, and Timbila having a tough start to the second half.
So yes, that feed down low from Tripp was a little bit out in front of Abdu Timbila, but that's when you have to corral as the big man rolling down low on that play. He's just, if the pass hasn't been perfect, he hasn't been able to corral it. And so many balls have gone just off his hands and either into the hands of Albany defenders or out of bounds for a turnover.
10 turnovers for the Rams, and a few of those coming on passes directed to Abdu Timbila. Pass deflected by Zona, but stays with Albany. Neely drives, it's poked away. Zona the steal. Tripp slows it down in the forecourt. Rams ahead by 9. Tripp drives, blocked by Langford Jr. Strand the rebound, outlet to Joshua, wide open, left wing 3. It's short, and Zona pulls down the board. Tripp opts to slow it down as Jackie Johnson took a tumble over on the defensive end. Here's Medor all alone for 3. No good. Marshall steps behind three-point land. Resets up top for Neely. Lob down low for Langford. Kicks corner. Joshua for 3. It's good. Great ball movement by Albany. They find the open man.
Fordham lost a little bit there on defense, able to find Joshua in the corner. Not the guy you want to leave open for 3 in the corner.
It's at a 6-point lead for the Rams. Rivera and Riley set to check in next whistle. The door off the Zona screen. Tripp on the right wing. Finds Zona in the paint. Can't lay it in, but able to draw the foul. Matt Zona will go to the line after the break.
already the impact from Zona, though, on both ends, getting the strip on defense, then coming down with a rebound, aggressive on offense, getting to the free throw line. And you feel like if Abdu's going to continue to struggle the way he has in this game, we're going to see a lot more minutes and opportunities for Matt Zona.
Fordham will look to snap a 2-minute scoreless drought when we come back. It's 2 free throws for Matt Zona. The Rams up by 6, 15:06 left in the second half. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Hey sports fans, it's Bobby C. I'm the sports director here at WFUV. From live broadcasts of Fordham athletics to coverage of all the professional sports teams in the NYC, we've got everything a sports fan could ask for. Like talking sports? Check out One on One, New York's longest-running sports call-in show, as well as our diverse collection of podcasts. If you're a Fordham student interested in joining our program, feel free to shoot me an email, bobbyc@wfuv.org. And as always, thank you to all of our listeners who support us every week. 90.7 FM is the home of WFUV Sports.
Just the second meeting between Fordham and Albany. This one here at the Rose Hill Gym. It's the Rams up 52-46. Nick, once again, and it's something that Keith Ergo well aware of because he talked about with Andrew Bogish on the Keith Ergo show. For whatever reason, this team has not gotten out to good starts in the second half. They come out slow. They don't play great defense. And although this one had been, relatively speaking, one of their better second half efforts in the opening 4 minutes, defensive lapses, they leave Joshua wide open in the corner for a 3, and Albany is called back to within 6. It feels like whatever reason they can't really come out sharp here.
I think it's telling, Lou, that you're referring to this as one of their better starts to the second half. Albany's on a 5-0 run, and they've cut this deficit down to 6. I don't really know what it is, but consistently you think back to that Maine game earlier this month where Fordham were up big, and then the first 5 minutes of the second half, they allowed Maine to really close that gap before they eventually pulled away. Fordham might pull away later in this game and win by double digits, but it's a little worrying coming into conference play when you think about, when you're facing the elite teams in the Atlantic 10, you can't really afford to be asleep for the first 5 minutes of the second half if you want to be competitive.
You look at Amari Marshall on the Albany side, 17 points. He is too shy of tying his season high. He put up 19 against Drexel, and that is, Fordham saw Drexel here at the Rose Hill Gym earlier this season. That's an excellent Drexel defense, and this is, in theory, a good Fordham defense, although they haven't, lived up to that moniker. And Amari Marshall has had quite the night, and there's still 15 minutes left to go.
Marshall last season, we mentioned how this year's been a down year for him in terms of numbers. He scored 20-plus points 10 times last year. He hasn't at all this year yet. 17 this afternoon, and I feel like we might see his first 20-point game of the season.
That doesn't feel like that bad of a bet there.
Hot take.
Zona at the line goes 2 for 2. And Fordham remains perfect at the line on the day. An 8-point lead with 15:05 to go. Byron Joshua cuts inside, the righty floater, no good, but grabs his own miss, kicks out for Marshall. Here's the 3, it's good! 20 points for Amari Marshall.
This is the Amari Marshall that we saw 2 years ago, all-conference third-team player in the America East. 20 points now for the first time this season. He looked so smooth on offense.
Jackie Johnson curling around on the left side. Rams' lead has been cut to 5. Johnson yet to score this half. Swings it over to Rivera, steps inside, three-point land, takes the 2, it's no good. Rebound pulled down by Amari Marshall. Strand fakes the pass, now sends it into the corner. Back out to Marshall, swings it right for an open Joshua, his 3 goes! Albany back within 2 on back-to-back threes.
Albany being able to find the open shooter in this second half consistently. Joshua knocking down those shots. It's his third 3 of the second half now. It's a 2-point game, Lou.
It's an 11-2 run for the Great Danes. Strand pokes the ball away from Medor. It stays here for the Rams. But 13:55 left to go here in half number 2. The Rams have seen their 11-point lead dwindle down to just 2. It's Johnson up top, 13 on the shot clock. Screen left from Zona. Johnson drives, hangs, puts it up with a left hand, no good. Zona's follow-up, no good as well, and Albany controls. Kwachek with some tempo, shovels back for Neely. Some defense chants coming from the cheerleaders in the crowd here in the Rose Hill Gym. It's Neely up top into the hands of Marshall, already 20 points today. Marshall drives underneath the basket. Johnson pokes it free, ball is loose, and Johnson falls on it. It's a jump ball with 1 second left on the shot clock. So it will stay there with Albany, but the shot clock won't reset, so Albany's going to have to drop something quick.
Maybe a lob play here. It's what's going to have to be with just the 1 second on the shot clock. Great job by Jackie Johnson staying with Marshall, who had the step on him, but able to get the poke from behind to get the ball to the ground and force the jump ball.
Johnson out, Tripp back in. The lob. Neely throws it up. It's no good, but he draws the foul.
You just can't foul in that spot if you're Jameer Tripp.
That is Fordham bailing out Albany, and Justin Neely, he caught the feed in the middle of the paint, fading away and falling away from the basket, just threw a wild shot up over the backboard, but instead draws the foul, and they're going to call that one on Josh Rivera.
Yeah. Well, Neely is Albany's version of a big. He's 6'6" and doesn't look like a big at all, but he's been guarding the bigs when he's been in the game, and the lob play was to him, and he's held his own more so. I mean, 13 points for him now, 4 rebounds. You wouldn't really tell if he's just playing that 5 position, but at 6'6", he's done extremely well to hold his own.
Good on the first, a chance to tie the game, and buries the second. 2 for 2 trip from Neely, all even at 54, as once again, Fordham has watched a double-digit lead dwindle down in a second half. This is back-to-back games. They were up 18 in the first half against Bryant. Bryant would come back to take the lead.
It's a 13-2 Albany run, Lou.
Tripp swings right for Riley. Corner for Rivera. Back out to Zona. Right wing 3. Catch and shoot. It goes. Matt Zona buries the 3, and Fordham retakes the lead.
On the move a little bit of a leaner there from Matt Zona.
Neely in the paint. Steps up. Takes the jumper. A high shot. No good. Riley grabs the board, speeds ahead, now slows down. Here's Medor, drives inside, and lays it in with the left hand, the finger roll, as Medor had a wide open lane down the middle.
Yeah, timeout, Albany. Sometimes all it takes is one basket to go in. That wasn't an easy 3 from Matt Zona. It was a little bit contested, on the move a little bit, able to knock it down, and then immediately you get the stop. Able to go back the other way and get the bucket from Jaffe Medor. Maybe now we've entered a Fordham stretch, and that's what Albany are trying to quell here, and Dwayne Killing's calling that timeout.
Yeah, props to Fordham. The Rams able to have a punch back, and that is something that Coach Ergo talked about even last week against Bryant was, well, even when we went down, or even as we started to slow down, there was always confidence in that huddle. There was always the swagger that we were going to get it back. Rams back out by 5. On 5 straight points with 12:30 to go here in half number 2. And we'll send it to the Rose Hill Studios. Grace McCarron, the one-on-one scoreboard update.
A one-on-one scoreboard.
Checking back in on one A10 matchup, Duquesne is up 18-11 against UC Irvine. While we wait for the rest of A10 hoops, the Chiefs lead the Texans in Kansas City with a score of 24-16. A little more top 25, Houston is leading Texas A&M Corpus Christi 52-27. An All-Carolina matchup with Wake Forest visiting Clemson. Score there is 42-35 Clemson. In college football, Penn State is demolishing SMU with a score of 38-10. Clemson heads south to face Texas at 4 p.m. Your nightcap in college gridiron will be Tennessee visiting Ohio State at 8 p.m. And first baseman Paul Goldschmidt has agreed to a 1-year, $12.5 million deal with the New York Yankees. With your scoreboard updates, I'm Grace McCarron.
Orlando and Nick Guzman. We're bringing you Fordham men's basketball on 90.7 FM. This is the non-conference finale for the Fordham Rams. Conference play just 10 days away. That's December 31st for St. Louis. And while we have you here, we also want to draw your attention to some programming later tonight on 90.7 FM as Fordham women's basketball travels out to California for the Raising the Bar Invitational, and they're taking on Cal at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's a big game. That's the second Fordham women's basketball game on the radio. That's big stuff, and that is probably going to be their biggest opponent of the year. Fordham women's basketball has heated up on a win streak of their own as well, so basketball vibes relatively high right now in Rose Hill campus.
Most definitely. I mean, Lou, so students went home yesterday and today. Finals ended yesterday, so the student section is pretty much completely empty, but there's a lot of families here inside the gym. It's pretty full, excluding the student section. There's still a pretty decent atmosphere here inside the Rose Hill gym, even with essentially no current Fordham students in attendance besides you and me.
You know, we try to show out for our class, and I have no doubt that once everyone's back for the school year, the semester, we'll see Rose Thrill back in action. Really haven't seen Rose Thrill at its peak yet this year.
Circle the calendar, January 15th against UMass. That'll be the first game in A10 play with students back.
And that will be a celebration of 100 years at Rose Hill as we celebrate it really all season long. Fordham up by 5, 12:25 to go in the game. Albany controls with possession. It's Joshua up top. Guarded by Medor. Lindsay. As Medor switches on. Off of a screen. Lindsay, the bounce down low. Oh, a nice play by Langford Jr. to bank it in.
Langford, nearly all of his shots are like that, in close. He's not a jump shooter, but at the rim, an elite finisher. 60% from the field for him. That's top 5 among guards in the NCAA.
That's 27th in the nation. He's been a welcome addition to an Albany team that needed a lot of new faces, considering all the departures. Zona open for 3, buries again! 2 for 2 on 3-pointers is Matt Zona, extending the Fordham lead.
In the last 3 games heading into this one, he was 4 of 5 from deep, shooting so much more efficiently from beyond the arc, which we didn't see earlier this season. If he's shooting threes, he's so effective for this Fordham team.
Langford in the post, guarded by Zona. Fades away with the right hand, it rolls in. 4 straight points on the Albany side from Langford Jr. After leaving earlier with that injury. He is a tough bucket. I think you see why he was earning pretty solid minutes at UCF.
Not shy about attacking inside. That was a high arcing floater over Zona.
The Rams ahead by 4, 11 minutes to play. Riley quickly feeds Rivera in the short post. Takes the 2 straight on, it's no good. Joshua on the far side. Gets some help from a screen in the corner. Langford in the far short corner. Kicks out for Lindsay. 10 on the shot clock. Lindsay's pass skips off the foot of Matt Zona. 10:34 left in the second half. We've got a stoppage. Albany 7-6, Fordham 7-5. Both these teams, I think, similar stories and in similar positions, at least in terms of how the season's gone so far. Both of these teams lost a couple of games that they probably should have won, and still trying to figure out consistency, fluidity. Now, the big difference for Albany is they've got a ton of new faces, 4 transfers in their starting 5, looking to replace 7 of their top 9 scorers, and really only 3 impact returners from last year. And one of those impact returners is Aaron Reddish, who's out with a back injury. That's the younger brother of Cam Reddish and was one of their top scorers last year. So Albany has a much tougher roster outlook than Fordham does, but in terms of the story of the season, I'd say pretty similar with these two teams.
And for Albany, coached by Dwayne Killings, who's previously the associate head coach at Marquette, now in his 4th year in charge, I think it's probably fair to say this is the best team that he's had in those 4 years. I mean, you think about some of the stuff this team's went through. His first season they were 500 conference play. The next year they got ravaged by injuries and their home gym got renovated, had to play down the road at a local community college. Last year was disappointing at 5-11 in conference play, but this year they've gotten some talent from the portal. Some other guys have matured. Getting a guy like Neely back, who was so promising for you 3 years ago, to now have seemed to have gotten over the injury bug to be an effective player in the America East. There's a lot of pieces for this Albany team. It's probably just going to take a little bit more time for them to gel, but they were picked towards the bottom of the America East, picked 7th in the preseason poll. I think they're a better team than that, just based off what we've seen tonight.
Well, I look at this roster, I look at this starting 5. Very impressive, DeMar Langford Jr., and let's make no mistake, that is not an easy feat to get someone that played in the ACC and the Big 12, but to come to a program in the America East.
And it's not just that he was on the roster, he played at both those schools at UCF, and then
he averaged 10.6 minutes a game at UCF. He started 8 times. He was a major player on UCF last year.
And at Boston College, he played 73 games across 3 years, averaging almost 10 points per game. So it's a guy that can play at a high level. Yes, he doesn't have that outside shot, but it doesn't really matter when you're finishing at the rate that he is down low over big guys like Matt Zona.
I mean, you have Neely Healthy, who is one of your 2 major returners. Byron Joshua comes over after 4 years at Alcorn State, played point guard there, regular starter. Now that's in the SWAC, which a lot of people consider one of the worst conferences in D1 basketball. So even the jump from the SWAC to the America East, that's a big jump for him. Averaging 12.8 a game, he's been their number 2 scorer, and more importantly, trying to replace the efforts of Sebastian Thomas, who averaged 19.6 a game for Albany last season, was 44th in the nation, led the America East. He's now in the A-10 along with Jonathan Beagle, who was the Rookie of the Year in 2022 for Albany. Fordham gets an early steal off of the sideline inbound, outlet ahead to Medor. Fakes, drives inside, shovels down low for Rivera, lays it in.
It's just elite guard play from Trefay Medor. The elite shot fake, able to get inside, act like he's going for the layup, but then dish it off for the wide open Rivera underneath for the easy finish.
13 points for Josh Rivera. Here's Marshall off a dribble, buries the mid-range 2.
That's a hard shot from the elbow over Matt Zona with a hand in his face, but these Albany players have shown the ability to knock down those shots from the mid-range.
That's 22 for Amari Marshall as he continues to add to his season high. 64-60 the Rams lead. Trip in the corner. Spins off of Joshua, drives inside and sent hard to the floor. That's going to be a foul going against Kasper Kwacek. For Kwacek, that's his second of the game, and it sends Tripp to the line. Tripp already with 12 points on the day.
And a chance for 2 more here for Jameer. He looked just so much better than he did against Bryant. And, it's been a game where Jackie Johnson on the bench, just 3 of 11 shooting for 9 points. Maybe his worst game of the season so far, at least to this point. But other guys like Tripp and Rivera stepping up.
Tripp buries the first, and that is maybe what inspires confidence and gives you hope in this group, is that if someone has an off night, it's not like if Jackie Johnson can't score, the team's going to flounder. They have other options to turn to.
And multiple other options. It's not just like there's one other guy. It's not like a 1-2 punch like Quisenberry and Khalid Moore 2 years ago. There's multiple depth scorers.
Perfect trip from Jameer Tripp. A 6-point lead for the Rams. Good pressure from Medor in the forecourt, but Albany secures. Marshall on the offensive end loses the handle, stolen by Zona. There's the second steal of the game for Matt Zona. Rivera down to the right block, kicks out for Zona, pulls from 3, and it just rolls out. Marshall, long pass ahead to Joshua. Joshua drives baseline, puts it off the foot of Trefay Medor.
I like, though, that last Fordham offensive sequence. There's no more hesitation for Matt Zona when he's open for 3. If he has an ounce of space, he's feeling a shot at this point in the season, he's going to take that shot, and you want him to. It's a high percentage shot for a guy like Zona.
Ball stays with Albany. Langford Jr. off the baseline inbound, and he is surrounded by Riley and Zona, finally able to kick out. Open in the corner is Lindsey. Steps back, takes the 3, and it's good. Albany back within 3.
Josh Rivera, they're over-aggressive in the pursuit of the steal. Went for the steal up top. Wasn't anywhere close to it. Then Fordham are out of position defensively, leaving the open shooter.
66-62. They're going to call that a 2-pointer. So it's a 4-point lead for the Rams. Tripp drives underneath the basket, kicks out from Medor. Up top for Zona, pulls from 3, and sinks it. Matt Zona once again from long range.
That's his shot. We've said earlier in the season, he's not a big who can shoot. He's a shooter who happens to be big. And Matt Zona's feeling it from deep.
Langford Jr. wanted the lob for Byron Joshua going the other way. And that's going to go against Jaffe Medor for the foul, as Joshua really couldn't get up as he was running with Medor. Looked like those two got tied up.
How about 15 points from Matt Zona? 3 of 4 from deep. That's a season high, career high here at Fordham. Those 15. Wow, he's been impressive.
And this is what has now been a continuation of a really impressive stretch for Matt Zona. And again, you see why he was averaging 10 minutes a game in the ACC for a good Notre Dame team. Lindsay on the deep left wing stands on the 100-year Rose Hill logo. His bounce pass to Strand. Strand from the free throw line. Wild jumper, no good, and Zona pulls down the board. Medor in transition, blocked from behind, but that's the foul. Has too much contact over the back. And that's Damon Stroud trying to get back.
Shout out Damon Strand, product of Raritan Valley Community College, which is right down the road from me. That's where everyone from my high school goes to community college. It's where my sister went, RVCC. Shout it out.
Let's get some love on the broadcast. The door goes to the line, and Fordham, their trips to the free throw line have been very closely watched this year after last year's struggles. Medor makes good in the first, and they are now 10 of 10 from the line. And I feel like this last stretch, really ever since the Florida trip, they've been pretty solid there.
They were 19 of 22 against Bryant, a game that was as close as that. I mean, that's a game that you lose if you shoot 60% from the free throw line. But Fordham locked in at the line. You love to see it. 10 for 10 now. And, of course, we say that Jaffe Medor misses.
We shouldn't have said anything, as there's the first free throw miss for the Fordham Rams. Medor goes 1 for 2. And the Rams ahead by 8 here with 8 minutes left to play. Langford Jr. drives on Zona, pumps, goes up, draws the foul, no good on the shot, but he's going to the line.
It's impressive to watch somebody who's 6'4" back down a guy like Matt Zona in the post, really with no fear. I mean, that's what he wants to do. He's not going to shoot the ball from the outside. He wants to get inside and be physical. I mean, you can see why. I mean, he's so elite finishing inside. You can see why he was getting minutes in the ACC and then for UCF.
Langford Jr. going to the line when we come back, as Fordham looking to take a 5-game win streak into A10 play. Lou Orlando, Nick Guzman, Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
I'm Chris Carino, one of your broadcasters for Fordham women's basketball on 90.7 FM. Merry Christmas, everyone. Ring in the holiday season with us as Fordham women's basketball embarks on a cross-country journey that even jolly old St. Nick will be proud of. Fordham visits the Raising the Bar Invitational hosted by Cal Berkeley. The Rams play a pair of games starting with a matchup against the hosting Golden Bears. That one's on 90.7 on December 21st with an 8 p.m. tip-off. Coach Bridgette Mitchell and the Rams are back the following day against Temple or Xavier the 22nd. You can find that one on the WFUV Sports YouTube page. Two of the biggest matchups of the season in the most merry and jolly time of the year. You really can't miss it. WFUV Sports is home of Fordham basketball.
Well, you heard the promo from Chris Carino. Tonight at 8 p.m., Fordham women's basketball versus Cal. That's on the radio. Then the day after, it's either Temple or Xavier, and depending on the outcome of the game, will either be at 6 p.m. or at 8 p.m. That game will be on YouTube, but highly encourage you guys to tune into the Raising the Bar Invitational as Fordham women's basketball travels out to California for a little Christmas break tournament. Back here at the Rose Hill Gym, Rams hold an 8-point lead over Albany, and how about, you said it, not just a season-high 15 points, it's a career-high 15 points for Matt Zona, 3 of 4 from beyond the arc.
This is what was advertised when you hear before the season that a shooting big who played at Notre Dame is coming to Fordham. You know, Matt Zona struggled a lot down in Florida. He struggled in the game before that in Drexel. Really just didn't look like a guy who who came from a school like Notre Dame with the resume that he did. But these last couple of games, I mean, the scoring hasn't been there as it has been this afternoon, but the efficiency's been there in this last month. Ever since the calendar turned to December, really, Matt Zona's been incredible. But now to finally see the fruits of his labor in this one come to fruition in terms of the scoring and in terms of the three-point shooting, it's got to be so satisfying for Matt Zona considering how this season started off.
I mean, you look at the last 5 games for Matt Zona as Langford sinks the first free throw. 8 points, 8 points, 10 points, 5 points, and now 15. So quick live math, that's 9.2 per game over that 5-point stretch. That is an uptick over the 4 points a game he's been averaging in the early going. That's another big wrinkle for Fordham if they can unlock it.
And you talk about the depth, Lou. I mean, Abdu not having a great game in this one, looks kind of out of sorts, looks a little uncoordinated when he's gotten the ball down low. So you put in Matt Zona, he knocks down 3 straight threes. It's the fact there's people off the bench who contribute when starters are not playing well. It's so big for this Fordham team moving forward.
Langford Jr. perfect from the line. And Fordham ahead 70-64. 7:32 left in the second half, and Jameer Tripp posting up in the corner takes a bump from number 5, DeMar Langford Jr. And that is the 4th team foul for Albany.
And even with all the fun of Matt Zona knocking down these shots, it's still a 6-point game. Fordham still need to be locked in here for these final 7:30 to make sure this one doesn't slip away.
Too close for Fordham's liking at the moment. Medor drives inside, loses the handle. It looked like there was some contact down low as he drove inside. And Medor has earned himself a trip to the free throw line.
They get Lindsay on that one. A couple times Medor has driven like that and got stripped in that same manner. It's just been clean, but that time able to draw the foul and get to the free throw line. Medor had 17 in that game against Bryant, not quite at those heights so far in this one, but still been aggressive, driving inside, taking that contact and getting his free throws.
That 17 points against Bryant, that's the second most he's had this season, shy of the 23-point outburst against Manhattan, and it feels like it's been a little bit up and down with Medor in terms of the offensive end, trying to find his rhythm, find his footing. The eye test doesn't feel like this has been his best game. What he's done consistently is drive, be aggressive, and get himself to the free throw line more often than not, and this time perfect from the line.
And also kick the teammates. I mean, 8 assists for Jaffe Medor in this game.
8-point lead for the Rams after Medor's free throws. 7:20 to go. Fordham just 8 points away from their 5th straight game, scoring over 80 points. This is Neely up top. Posting up Riley. Drives into the paint. A wild right-hand shot, no good, but draws the foul. And now it feels like both sides are just trading trips to the free throw line.
Yeah, Zach Rye didn't like that call. Looked like he was with Neely every step of the way. He just leans in, though, as he's going up for that shot, able to draw the contact, get to the free throw line. But yeah, the pace definitely has slowed down here as we've now got 7:06 to go in the second half.
First foul on Riley, 5 team fouls against the Rams. Justin Neely, 14 points. This is his second appearance at the free throw line. No good in the first. Crowd raising the volume for the second free throw. This time rolls in. 7-point lead for the Rams at 7:05 to play.
Still no Jackie Johnson. A large stretch of this second half. He's been on the bench, not been his best game. And Keith Ergo decided to keep Jackie on the sidelines here.
Ramad Dean on the right wing, bounces for Zona. Takes the handoff to Medor, swings left for Riley. On the shot clock, Fordham looking to get set. Good defense by Albany. Shot clock down to 5. Medor, left wing, driving, step back, deep 2, rolls out. Zona the offensive board, puts it back up, it's no good. Grabs the board again. Kicks out, and in the process of kicking out, draws the foul as he got tangled up with, I believe that was Justin Neely.
Zona, he's all over the place. I mean, you would have liked for him to finish that first putback. I think he had a little more time than he thought. He's pretty much wide open down there, but able to get the board again. 2 offensive rebounds on the sequence, and Fordham will inbound underneath.
Albany 1 foul away from putting Fordham in the bonus. Medor left elbow. Drives, picks up the dribble, he's double teamed. This is the corner for Tripp. And Jameer Tripp steps out of bounds. A turnover for the Rams, and after what looked like a couple strong possessions, momentum brewing, that's a tough, anticlimactic end.
You would have liked that sequence to end in a basket, especially something preventable like that. Jameer Tripp just stepping on the sideline before he cut to the basket.
Great Danes trail by 7. 6:15 left to play. Marshall off a screen. The floater. Oh, it goes. Off balance floater from Amari Marshall. 24 points. He's unreal.
By far the best game he's had so far this season. Not just 24 points, on 10 of 15 shooting. So efficient. He's been the spark for these Great Danes in this one.
It's a 5-point lead for the Rams. Zona up top. Puts the ball on the floor. Now hands off for Medor. Medor double. Passes straight up for Tripp. Feed down low for Zona. Pumps. Goes up. Smothered. Goes up again. And they're going to say jump ball as Albany all over Matt Zona on that sequence underneath the basket.
Possession arrow stage with Fordham. We also see Jackie Johnson checking back into the game for the Rams.
Jackie Johnson, 9 points in 23 minutes. Has not been out there for a good chunk of the second half, and that's after a season-high 29 points last week against Bryant. Medor's pass on the baseline inbound is tipped and intercepted. They get it right back. Medor coming from behind, knocks it away from Neely. Here's Johnson up top. Drives and kicks for Medor. Corner for Dean for 3. It's good! Ramon Dean drills the 3 in the corner. 8-point lead for the Rams. Langford Jr. in transition. No good. Great defense. Zona getting back.
What resiliency from Jaffe Medor on that last sequence. To have the inbound pass tipped, it's a turnover. To come back and get the steal from behind and get that Ramon Dean open for 3. What an effort from Medor.
Jackie Johnson going to take the off-balance floater. It's short, but he draws the foul. With 5:05 left in the second half, I mean, that was a pretty stunning sequence. You said it, the effort from Medor going all the way back, knocking the ball out from Neely from behind, and it ends up in a 3-pointer in the corner for Dean.
And I mean, it's a 5-point game when that turnover first happens. If Albany go down and get a fast break layup, it's a 1-possession game, but for Medor to go down from behind, get the steal, and then Dean's found in the corner for the open triple, able to open up an 8-point, now a 9-point lead. That's a game-changing type play from Jaffe Medor.
Jackie Johnson buries the first free throw, and that is now 13 straight games, every game this season that Jackie Johnson has reached double figures. The A-10's leading scorer. Well short on the second free throw, and Langford Jr. picks up the rebound. Marshall driving along the far side, shovels down low for Neely, lays it in. Albany gets points quickly back on the other side.
It's too easy, but Fordham not playing with a big right now. No Zona, no Tim Beal, no Jaden Smith.
Once again, that's Amari Marshall initiating, gets inside. Finds a wide open Justin Neely. Medor slows things down with 4.5 to play. To 5 on the floor, Medor, Johnson, Dean, Tripp, and Rivera. Johnson up top with 5 on the shot clock. Johnson drives. Up with the right hand, no good, but draws the foul. Once again, Jackie Johnson earning his way to the free throw line as Jaffe Medor in front of the bench getting an earful from Keith Urgo. And that's something, going back to the Jackie Johnson of it all, that Keith Urgo talked about, was that behind-the-back righty layup against Bryan. He said if Jackie Johnson starts to go with the right hand more, he's going to be unguardable.
I mean, that's a play there where Jackie picks the ball up way outside on the perimeter, looks up at the shot clock, he's got 6 seconds, and he's the best lane there is to drive right, and he has enough confidence in that right hand to attack to that side and draw the foul and get to the free throw line.
Jackie misses the first free throw, and that's really been the only area where you could say he's struggled. He's hovered around 70% from the line this season. Nothing but net in the second.
And he was 5 of 6 against Bryant, which was big. The 2 misses today. It's really the only gripe you can have with his game overall is the free throw shooting.
This is Joshua up top, 4:15 to play. Fordham ahead 77-69. Deep 3 from Joshua, rebound secured by Neely. So it stays here with the Great Danes. Neely drives, spins, tries to kick out. It's knocked away and stolen But hold on, there's a foul. Looks like someone got tangled down low with Neely. I think they called it on Josh Rivera, his second.
I think the lack of size on the floor for Fordham right now is evident with that offensive rebound by Neely, able to keep the possession going. And Rivera didn't think it was a foul. I couldn't really see where the contact was from here, but nevertheless, Albany will inbound.
Joshua off the baseline feed. Joshua playing with 4 fouls right now. Delays on the deep right wing. His bounce pass intercepted by Dean. Dean in transition and lays it in. No, he can't. But goaltending the other way as Kasper Kwachek lipped up and tried to knock that ball off the rim. You can't do that. So it is points for Ramad Dean, if not unconventionally.
And Ramad Dean had 3 points a couple minutes ago and wasn't really doing anything on offense. Wasn't missing shots, just wasn't taking them. And had the open 3 in the corner, gets that lay in transition. All of a sudden, Ramad Dean, a key part of this Fordham offense down the stretch.
I thought it had been a quiet game for Ramad Dean, as you said, and still only 13 minutes played from one of Fordham's more reliable starters. Nonetheless, the Rams back out to a double-digit lead here at the under 4 media timeout. And one last time, let's give it over to Grace McCarron, the one-on-one scoreboard update.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
We've got tons of women's basketball in the A10 today. Davidson beats Charlotte 82-55. Duquesne bests Bowling Green 67-59 in Pittsburgh. Once again, we've got our very own Fordham Rams visiting the California Golden Bears at 8 p.m. in the Raising the Bar Classic right here on 90.7 FM. Checking back in on the NFL, the Chiefs still lead the Texans 27-19, and we'll see how Lamar Jackson performs against his division rival Steelers at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore at 4:30. We've also got lots of NBA action tonight. The Knicks are in New Orleans to play the Pelicans at 8 o'clock, and the Nets are at home at the Barclays Center against the Jazz. Former Yankees catcher Jose Trevino has been traded to the Cincinnati Reds. In return, the Yankees receive pitcher Fernando Cruz and catcher Alex Jackson. With your scoreboard updates, I'm Grace McCarron.
Orlando, Nick Guzman. This is the second meeting between Fordham and Albany. Right now, Fordham a 10-point lead, 79-69. To get their first meeting, you got to go back to 1923. Nick just a little bit less scoring. Fordham 40, Albany 17. A little bit of a different game, but we've got some Albany ties here at Fordham. Our new athletic director, Charles Guthrie, who was just hired about a month ago, grew up in Albany, got his master's at the University of Albany, which is the school that Fordham is playing now. I will throw in there, my mom went to college at Albany, so a lot of Fordham and Albany ties here. I did double check with our new AD, Charles Guthrie. I said, is there any conflict of interest? Are we rooting for the good guys here? And he said, you know it, we're rooting for the Rams. So I think the Fordham community will be proud to know their AD on their side.
It'd be treasonous if he was rooting for Albany in this one, considering he's the new AD.
Gotta represent, baby.
Got it.
10-point lead for the Rams, looking to close this one out, looking to sweep all 5 America East opponents this season, and looking to take a 5-game winning streak into A10 play. There's Amari Marshall for Albany, deep left wing. Marshall with 24. Marshall, contested 2, no good, grabs his own miss, puts it back up, no good again. Dean the rebound, and that's a rare pair of misses for Marshall today. Johnson in transition, puts it behind the back, and lays it in with the finger roll. Oh, trickery and magic from Jackie Johnson.
Is that a new signature move, Lou? Again, he goes behind the back. This time finishes with the left hand on the finger roll. But what a play by Jackie Johnson.
Oh, that's magnificent. Maybe takes a little bit of the steam away. Jackie Johnson, the defensive end, called for the foul, but yeah, we've seen him try and do that move a couple times, driving with the left hand, put it behind his back, and then lay it up. He's the wizard of his craft, man. That's special stuff.
It's about as pretty of a move as you're gonna see, because he does it all in one motion. It's so smooth.
So fluid.
So fluid as he puts it behind his back into the finger roll.
A 12-point lead for the Rams, but Johnson's foul will put Albany to the line. Now both teams in the bonus. 1-1 from Langford Jr. The first is good.
Langford, not a guy who shoots the free throw that well, was under 50% coming into this one. 4 or 5 on the day, though.
And Langford Jr., after the scary injury early in the first half, now 10 points, 5 rebounds. He's had a major impact, especially with his size, with his body in the second half. Good on the second as well, a 2-for-2 trip. And Langford Jr.
And Lou, that Jackie Johnson layup also puts Fordham over the 80-point threshold for the 5th straight game.
5 straight games with 80-plus points for the Rams. It has been a nice offensive surge on Rose Hill. Albany pressing. Tripp breaks it, loses the handle. It goes out of bounds off a trip, and that is a tough turnover for the Rams, especially with Albany just recently cutting the lead to 10.
And this game's not over. There's still 2:56 to go, down by 10. You know, we've talked to Coach Erger about Jameer playing the 1 a little bit. He just looks a little uncomfortable when he's forced to dribble the ball up the court under pressure. There just loses the handle on this near sideline.
And Coach Ergo has had some gripes with Fordham's ability to close out in the final 4 minutes, final 2 minutes, late game situations. We'll see if Fordham can stay dialed in and hang on to this double-digit lead. 2:45 to play. Joshua off a screen, right wing, drives, kicks. Langford coming to the basket, finishes inside.
Yeah, Fordham opting to go back here to Matt Zona to get a big in there for these last 3 minutes. That time, just the slip pass gets around Zona and able to lay it in there by Langford, who's just so good at the rim.
It's, very curious. We're all trying to play the role of Keith Ergo right now with the starting lineups and the bench moves and all the different machinations that you can come up with. And I think one of the most interesting things is, what do you do at the 5 spot? Because even though Matt Zona has turned it up, has become a lot better scoring recently, he's not the most athletic defenseman you have for bigs, and you might want a more athletic lineup out there. Abdu has struggled with consistency and focus at times. You don't really have any other reliable centers. Jaden Smith is still very raw. That you start playing these games, all right, do we just go small with athleticism, or do we go with Zona or Abdu and take the hit with some of the athleticism?
I think you just need to have the faith that at some point Abdu Timbila is going to revert back to a version of himself that was an Atlantic 10, all defensive selection. It hasn't looked right at any point all season, but if he can get back to just somewhere near that level, I think Fordham's problems at the 5 will be solved.
Fordham breaks the press, 2.5 to go. Ahead 81-73, an 8-point lead here at Rose Hill. Johnson taking his time up top. Takes the deep 3. It bounces out, and the rebound is secured by Ramon Dean. The loose ball picked up by the Rams. And now Ergo yelling to slow things down as Fordham bailed out after the heat check from Johnson III.
Major bailout, ill-advised shot there from Johnson. Still with time on the shot clock, but they get the O-board to keep things going here.
5 on the shot clock, under 2 to play. Medor drives, lays it in with the right hand. Nice move through contact. Lead back out to 10 for the Rams. Minute 50 to play. Kwachek for 3. He answers. Nothing but net from the 6'8" Poland native.
Huge shot there from Kwachek. That keeps Albany in it now, a 7-point game. A minute 35 to go.
83-76. 90 seconds left to play. Rams looking to pick up their 5th straight win. Head into conference play with a full head of steam. They need to play a clean 90 seconds to do so. Medor, dribble drive, kicks to Dean, left wing 3, rolls out. Joshua grabs the board, minute 10 to play, Albany trails by 7. Joshua drives, it's tipped by Dean, rebound by Neely, puts it back up, draws the foul, and gets the shot to fall. He banked it in. And Albany gonna have a chance here to cut this to a 4-point lead.
Marshall is the leading scorer with 24 points, but Neely has been so impressive. He's essentially been playing the role of a big, and he's only 6'6", but there, you got Ramad Dean down there, you got Matt Zona down there, able to grab the rebound and go back up with it. Great play there from Neely, who's been so impressive. 19 points on 8 of 12 shooting. Chance to make it a 4-point game, Lou.
Big free throw coming here as The crowd starts to rise. He misses it.
Huge.
Dean grabs the board, and the lead at 5 for the Rams. An even minute to play. Tripp controls. And they get into the hands of Jackie Johnson III. Fordham will slow things down. 18 on the shot clock, 50 on the game. .45 seconds left to play. Johnson moves with 8 on the shot clock, still on the deep left wing. 5, 4, dribble drive, loses the handle, spinning around, chucks up a shot. It goes off the rim, rebound by Joshua. Across to Kwachek. Kicks back out, Joshua, right wing 3, it goes! 2-point game!
Unbelievable.
Byron Joshua nails the deep right wing 3. And Albany has made this a one-score game, Nick, with 26.6 to play.
It was a 10-point game with 2 minutes left, and we were talking about how the athletic director went to grad school at Albany. We were talking about other stuff, Lou, and all of a sudden, the Great Danes have gotten back into this one. It's a 2-point game. That last possession on offense for Fordham, just terrible. Jackie Johnson keeping the ball on the perimeter for too long, gets stripped, contested shot, moving in the lane, desperation heave just off the front of the rim. Fordham have gone cold here. Albany also knocking down their shots. Joshua, his 4th made three-pointer of the day. He's 4 of 6. The fact that this is a 2-point game, this cannot slip. This cannot, in the words of Pep Guardiola, the Manchester City coach, this cannot slip. This can't slip now.
Keith Thurgood has been very critical of the Fordham Rams, not just their inability to play a complete 40 minutes, but their inability to do what they need to do when the game tightens up in late game situations, when they have a big lead against a team they're favored against. These are the type of sequences that come A-10 play. You have to think the Rams are going to pay for if they keep to do this.
And it's a situation now where even if you win, you have a bad taste in your mouth. Because up 10 with 2 minutes left against an America East opponent at home, there's no excuse for the offense completely stagnating over these last 2 minutes, and also the defense, all of a sudden there's open shooters everywhere. Just a disastrous last minute 30 here for the Fordham Rams, but they're still up 2 with 26.6.
A 12-2 run for Albany, 83-81. Fordham leads. The shot clock is off. 26.6 seconds left. Full court press for Albany. All 5 members of Fordham on the baseline in the football play. Tripp bounces to Medor. Medor double team, spins up and draws the foul. So Medor will head to the line, and this will be a live ball on the first free throw, 1-1.
And Lou, we've talked so much about how Fordham have been improved this year from the free throw line. Well, here's the litmus test. This is, gotta have him here from Jaffe Medor. And 24.7, gotta have the first one specifically to get that second free throw.
No Fordham Ram has made more free throws this season than Jaffe Medor. And he's got a chance to sink 1 and then 2 big ones. But of course, with just 19 fouls for Albany, the first free throw is live. 24.7 seconds left. The Rams lead by 2. First from Medor. It's good.
Huge.
Buried. And at minimum, Fordham can ensure that on the next possession, Albany cannot win. The crowd hushes. Second for Medor, bounces out, rebound by Neely, 1 possession game. Joshua speeding ahead, wants the layup in transition, he gets it wide open. 84-83, Rams ahead, 17.9 seconds left. They foul Medor again, that's Kwachek. Kwachek's 4th, and they're gonna send Medor right back to the line. Interesting strategy by both teams, Nick. I'm not sure that Fordham wanted to give up that transition layup. Albany certainly wanted to take it.
No, I think if you're Fordham, maybe you're thinking maybe Albany will call a timeout there, talk things over. No, they were attack immediately to get to the basket, get it within 1. Jaffe Medor upset with himself after that last sequence, missing the free throw. He's got a chance to redeem himself here with 2 shots. Now Fordham the double bonus.
And now, well, it's the double bonus, but any miss is big. It's a 1-point lead, and if Medor misses, Albany would have a chance to win the game. Medor sinks the first. 85-83 with 16 seconds left to go. Fordham Rams sweating out the non-conference finale as their 4-game win streak in danger of being snapped here after leading by 10 points with about 2 minutes left to play. Second for Medor. It's good. 3-point lead for the Rams. And all Albany can do is tie on this next possession.
Okay, so it's hard to believe that Fordham's in this spot, but the reality is they are. Okay, so you got 16 seconds, you're up by 3, you're protecting that lead. It's going to be interesting to see what Keith Ergo opts to do in this situation. Do you even let them get the 3-point attempt off? Do you foul, force them to go to the free throw line, and not let them get that 3-point shot off? It'll be interesting to see the strategy here from Fordham because there's a number of different ways you could play it. I think if it's me, I think you foul and don't even let them get the chance to shoot that 3.
I like them as well. I think that's something you've seen in the NBA, and even in college happen a lot more, is when you're down 3.
The Jim Boeheim school.
Jim Boeheim, the longtime coach of Syracuse.
But we saw the last sequence, Albany not even thinking about a 3. A little less time now with 16 seconds, but attacking immediately and getting the basket. I think with 16 now, you're thinking more about getting that triple. But I think if Fordham are going to give you the 2 and you're Albany, I think you still probably take it.
Especially if you have the chance to foul, let's say, Medor or Jackie Johnson. As good as Fordham has been at the line today, 17 of 21. Historically, and we know some of the bugaboos, Jackie Johnson has not been great for the line today or all season long. Medor has missed a couple today. And think about, if Fordham didn't have such a great game from the line, where would they be in this situation right now? We think about all those different games where the game gets close and we go, man, if Fordham had shot 75-80% from the line, it'd be a little bit different. I mean, they've shot 81% from the line, and that might be the saving grace today.
And no timeouts left for Albany, too. That's key.
2 timeouts left for the Rams, none left for Albany. And 16 seconds left to go. They'll have to run the length of the floor. It's into the hands of Byron Joshua. 16 points today. Curling around. Kicks out to Marshall. Right wing 3. Blocked by Rivera. Riley comes down with the ball. What a defensive play.
What a huge block from Josh Rivera. Getting out on the perimeter, rising up. What a block. I mean, Marshall had the look. The look was there for Rivera to be able to get up and get a hand on that ball. We've talked so much about his athleticism. Just what a huge, huge play in a big spot from Josh Rivera. Back-to-back games, potentially game-saving plays.
Amari Marshall, 24 points. He's been electric all game long, had a chance to tie the game, and it's Josh Rivera stepping up, blocking the shot. How about Zach Riley? Right where he needs to be to get that ball, secure Fordham possession. He sinks the first free throw. It's a 2-possession game. Misses the second. Neely the rebound. Bounce pass. It's loose and stolen by Dean. And that's the game. Fordham holds on. And they'll head into A-10 play on a season-high 5-game winning streak. And Nick, it wasn't pretty, especially at the end there. But Fordham gets the win. They improve to 8-5, and they do have momentum going into conference play.
That's not a game you can lose when you're up 10 with 2 minutes left in this one. But for Fordham to be able to hold that lead, get that clutch block from Josh Rivera, clutch free throws down the stretch from Jermaine Medor. Should it have ever been this close? Probably not, no. But bottom line is Fordham undefeated so far in the month of December, 5 wins in a row. And they're heading into that game against St. Louis on December 31st on New Year's Eve on the right note, which is so, so key. Because there'd be a terrible taste in the mouths of these Fordham players if they somehow blew this game down the stretch.
It got scary at the end, but Fordham able to complete their non-conference run on a pretty high note. We'll be joined in just a second by Roy Blumenthal. Roy, you got us?
I can't hear you.
1 second. You got us now? How about now?
Now I got you.
You got us now? Awesome. It gets a little tight at the end there. We've talked to Coach Ergo a little bit about playing in situations where you need to close out the final 2 minutes. Obviously, you do enough to get the win. What did you see in that final stretch?
Well, we've been working on it all week. Coach has been having an emphasis on let's finish games, and we had situations all week. He did a great job getting the kids ready for it.
Coach, what can you say about Matt Zona stepping up, playing his best game of his season, 15 points, 3 big three-pointers?
Absolutely. But, he made those threes, but he played great defense, which kept us in it for a while, because the dude was struggling a little bit. Matt making the big threes, but defensively he was awesome.
Coach, you look back at non-conference play, it's an 8-5 record, and it's a 5-game winning streak to take into A10 play. What can that do for a locker room that obviously has aspirations about competing in this gauntlet of a conference?
No, it's awesome coming off those wins, but we're ready. We're 0-0 right now. We're ready. I mean, we're gonna enjoy the holiday, and then we're gonna get back to work and get ready for league play.
All right, thanks for the time, Coach.
No problem, guys.
That's Roy Blumenthal as we wrap things up from the historic Rose Hill Gym. An 87-83 win for the Fordham Rams, improved to 8-5 overall. A 5-game winning streak, but what Blumenthal said at the very end there, that's the most important thing. They're 0-0 now. None of what they did in the first half matters. The stakes get raised, the margin for error shrinks, and every game is going to matter starting December 31st against St. Louis.
And something that Keith Ergo talked about, on the Keith Ergo show this week with Andrew Bogish was how maybe last year a game like this where Albany start to come back, the mindset might be, okay, the sky's falling, maybe it's like same old Fordham, that kind of thing. But this year's team seems to have more of the resilience of the team 2 years ago, where it doesn't really matter, what happens in terms of adversity out there. Fordham still is confident in those huddles that they're going to win the game no matter what they go through in those 40 minutes out there.
5 different Rams reached double digits today, and it's led by Matt Zona, a career-high 15 points. The Rams score 80 points for the 5th straight time this season. The offense really surging. We'll find out if the defense is up to snuff when A10 play rolls around 10 days from now, December 31st, 2 p.m., right back here at the Rose Hill Gym. It'll be you, it'll be Chaz McAdams, and it'll be the A10 opener, and that's when it all starts, baby.
That's basically Christmas Day, is the start of the A10 conference play. I can't wait. A couple losses in this non-conference schedule to Drexel and Manhattan that you probably wouldn't like to take, but for Fordham, all things considered, you get through it relatively unscathed at 8-5. But like Coach Blumenthal said, Lou, you're 0-0 now. Everyone's 0-0, and it's going to be an absolute gauntlet of an Atlantic 10 schedule coming up.
I'd like to remind our audience later tonight at 8 p.m., Fordham women's basketball versus Cal. That's on 90.7 FM as Fordham women's basketball begins their first of 2 games at an MTE out in California, the Raising the Bar Invitational. So that game starts at 8 p.m. We encourage you to tune into it. Wrapping up from the Rose Hill Gym, final score, Fordham 87, Albany 83. Albany falls to 7-7. The Rams 8-5, and the next game is the start of conference play. Wrapping things up for my analyst, Nick Guzman, I'm Lou Orlando. We'll send it back to the Rose Hill Studios. Kurt Sippel, Grace McCarron, the 1-on-1 postgame report.
The one-on-one post-game report.
Welcome into the one-on-one post-game report. Your Fordham Rams have just taken down the Albany Great Danes. Your final score 87-83. The Fordham Rams end non-conference play in a big 5-game winning streak. Grace, this game was a win for the Fordham Rams, but to say that they look prepared for A10 play, I don't know if I could say yes or no to that.
Yeah, the ending there was a little bit scary, tied it up. Looked like Albany could take the lead on that one with just seconds left, but Fordham did pull out the win, which we love to see. 5 games in a row is big. They have not lost a game in December, and we hope that can continue into A10 play.
Well, these Fordham Rams, when you got into this season, you could feel that there was a different vibe around this team. I talked to Keith Ergo. I got to interview him in the beginning of the year, and he said this team is better than the one that we had last year. The guys in the locker room are building the culture better than what we had last year. And, you can see that today with 5 different guys being in double figures. Spreading the scoring around, having a bench will help you out in A10 play when you're playing teams like Dayton, who are now about to be ranked top 25 in the country.
Yeah, you have to be able to disperse the points a little bit. Bunch of guys had really great games. We always talk about Jackie Johnson. Matt Zona.
Shout out Matt Zona. Great, 15 points. Also was good on defense, as Coach was saying at the end of the game with Lou and Nick. So we love to see how many, several people getting these points.
And you do need that in A10 play because there are some really, really good teams in the A10.
And that's exactly why Matt Zona came over from Notre Dame, is to do this kind of stuff. He had 3 clutch threes, and he's playing more minutes than he's played when he played at Notre Dame as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see the way that he's flourishing right now in the system that Keith Urgo has set up around Jackie Johnson and the transfers like him, as well as just guys that have played so well for these Fordham Rams as well, including Jaffe Medor today, had a big game with 13 points.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Rivera, big block at the end, blocked the 3 that probably might have went in to tie this game for the Fordham Rams. And you do not want to go into A10 play with a overtime loss or overtime win even against the Albany Great Danes.
Yeah, you want to be able to seal the deal a little bit earlier.
Way earlier.
Way earlier.
These games have to be closed out.
Yes.
If you're playing UAlbany, with no disrespect to UAlbany, they've been very good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty even from the Fordham Rams and UAlbany to get into this game. But at the end of the day, Fordham, you should be better than them. You play in a better conference than them. Amari Marshall, shout out to him with 24 points today. He went off today for the Albany Great Danes. Justin Neely, 19 points. You see, for Fordham today, it felt like you weren't shutting down the scores that you probably should have for Albany against Fordham. And I think wholeheartedly, Keith Urgo is going to have a very big conversation with the Fordham Rams at the end of the day, saying, listen, guys, we might have won this game, but we can't keep doing this kind of stuff when we're getting into A10, because right now, New Year's, new everyone. That's what everyone always says. New Year's, new you. But for the Fordham Rams, it is a new them. 0-0.
Yeah.
That 8-5 record that they have right now doesn't matter.
Right.
But you got to hope that those new you has to start at defense, playing way better defense than what they've been playing in these last 5 games. You have to score the rock. They did that very well today. No comments there. It's just the effort on offense and effort on defense. You see the effort on offense all the time because Jackie Johnson, I feel like, leads a lot of that all the time.
Yeah.
He's a great leader. Matt Zona, another great leader, older person in the locker room, has led this team, helping them out, maybe the younger guys as well. Even guys, like Zach Riley today had a great game. You don't really see that name much on the stat sheet as well.
Right.
You know, for the Fordham Rams, it's all about that 0-0 coming into conference play when they play the St. Louis Billikens. But Grace, before we wrap, do you have anything else to add?
I just say, take the whole starting and fresh thing to heart. That everybody is 0-0 when it comes into conference play. You have to kind of put aside what you saw in non-conference play. Take the good things with you, but look really what to improve on in conference play, because that's really what matters at the end of the day. And there's such a strong conference, the A10.
It's one of the best mid-major conferences right now in the country.
Absolutely. And that's really, it's going to be tough. There are going to be some tough games on the schedule, but I think if they improve the defense, they get, more the same kind of scoring that they've gotten from their big stars. I think they could be pretty good.
The Fordham Rams can definitely have a great chance in conference play. But before we wrap up, I would like to thank everybody that worked on the show today. I would like to thank Lydia Perner, our producer on the sticks today. Congrats on the Rangers win last night. Everyone at the Rose Hill Gymnasium, Lou Orlando on play-by-play with his Capo Caco koozie from last night, watching the game. Nick Guzman on color. Grace McCarron waiting for the Islanders win tonight. With me in the booth, I have been Kurt Sipple. Your sports director for WFUV is Bobby Chaffardini. Please stay tuned into WFUV for tonight's game. The Fordham women's basketball team will be taking on Cal Berkeley at 8 o'clock. On that game, it's going to be Chris Carino and Madi Dambele in California with that game at 8 o'clock. Stay here on 90.7 and YouTube. But till that point, I have been Kurt Sipple, and Fordham men's basketball is a production of WFUV Sports.